Recording in progress. So, all right, well, welcome everyone. My name is Jamie Camrata, and I am the team leader for the Andover Success Market Center. I have been a team leader, shockingly, since 2013. Where does the time go? And I actually was team leader in the Beverly Market Center, and then I transferred to the Andover Market Center. I started in real estate in 2009 when we had our third child. I have 3 boys.
God bless you.
I know, busy girl. 3 boys, we own 2 restaurants, all that fun stuff. So I have one in college up at St. Mike's in Vermont, where I heard it snowed this weekend. So if anybody is joining us from that area, tomorrow's going to be 65 here, according to my weather app. Then I have one at St. John's Prep. He's in high school, plays football. And then I have a younger one in 6th grade. So busy, but I absolutely love real estate. And I used to be a school teacher. So those of you, and we're going to be talking about this today, about skill set and what skills do you bring to real estate. No matter what profession you did before, you were great at it. And so you're going to be taking some of those skill sets into real estate. And being a school teacher, if there's anybody on here who was a school teacher, that is multitasking at its finest, I will tell you, with 30 kids in a classroom. So that's about me. Krista, I'll let you introduce yourself and then we will get started.
Hey guys, my name is Krista Carnan. I'm an ATL and assistant team leader for KW Coastal and Lakes and Mountains. Our market center is headquartered in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and we have business centers all over the state of New Hampshire and the seacoast of southern Maine as well. I'm up here in North Conway. This is the business center that I work out of. I've been in ATL since January, so I'm a little bit more green than our friend Jamie here. But I have learned most of what I know from people like Jamie. So I feel really good about that. I've had my real estate license for 8 years. And I've really sold kind of all over the state of New Hampshire. So if anybody needs any advice, give me a shout. Jamie and I will both pop our contact information into the chat shortly. So if you guys need us, feel free to reach out. And like Jamie was saying, we love for this to be very interactive. This is 3 solid hours of a lot of information. Jamie's getting over laryngitis. She won't say it, but I will. So let her rest those vocal cords a little bit. We're all friends here. I say that all of the time. There's no such thing as a stupid question. We've all heard that. We've all been new. We've all been, restarting at some point. So ask those questions. And if you don't feel super comfortable asking it in front of the group, send us a private message in the chat. Okay. I don't have a backstory like Jamie does. I am a single 35-year-old mother of nobody. So I'm not as busy as she is, but real estate is my whole life. And I absolutely love it. So let's get rolling.
I love it. All right. So I am going to ask everyone so far to mute yourselves. This is recorded. So those who couldn't come on to today's Spark, they'll be able to watch this on the YouTube channel. Krista, I am going to ask you if you could just watch the chat a little bit, because I'm going to share my screen with the slides. And don't be afraid to raise your hand. If we don't see your hand raised in Zoom and you're new to Zoom, just unmute yourself and say, excuse me, I have a question. Again, like Krista said, I have to say, this really is about you guys. Okay, so you've taken the opportunity to believe in yourself, to be entrepreneurial, to start a business, because that's the business you got into. Okay, you are starting your own business, and we are going to give you the support, resources, technology to do so. So when you don't understand something, if we're going too fast, if you have a question, we really do want you to participate, because we want everybody by the end of the session to have some knowledge about the value proposition that you bring to both buyers and sellers, and that all of your questions were answered. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we will get started. Okay, so see, and I'm new to this. There we are. Everyone can see my screen, I assume. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. So So what do successful agents do every day? So you are in the business of real estate, and you're going to hear a lot of market centers, team leaders, and top agents talk about working in your business and working on your business. And so when you're growing your business, you're lead generating, you're making seller listing presentations and getting listings, you're making the buyer presentations and previewing real estate, you're doing open houses and things like that. You're trying to get out there to work in your business to grow it. When you're working on your business, you're learning how to run your business daily. So market seller listings, you're showing buyer houses, you're negotiating contracts, transaction management to closing, your vendor management, your sponsors and the affiliates that you work with. You're setting goals, you're understanding compliance and risk management, you're attending training and getting coaching and building the foundation like you are today on your business. And of course, you're managing your money. So here's the secret to a successful real estate agent. There is no secret. Success leaves clues, so we know exactly what successful agents do every day. The goal here is to model what successful agents do so that you can grow your business and be successful as well. So we're going to be talking about your value proposition today. Can anyone unmute yourselves and just let us know, what do you think a value proposition is, or what does it mean to you, a value proposition? Everyone's doing it all at the same time.
Maybe a skill set that you excel at.
Yep. So what skill set do you excel at? What else? Define value. What does that mean to you?
I'll solve a problem for a customer.
Yep, exactly. Your value proposition is, what are you bringing to the table? Right? What's your expertise? What's your knowledge? What does your communication skills look like? Your negotiating skills look like? Are you showing up the way that a professional real estate would? So you have to understand the value at which, why would somebody hire you? Because remember, with social media, we can't run from this. Everyone thinks they're a real estate agent, correct? There's going to be a lot of people that you go try to help them, represent them to buy a house or show them homes, and they think that they already have all the answers because of our friend Zillow. And so that not necessarily is the case. And so here, through this training and your market center, when we define the value that you bring to the table with your expertise and knowledge and understanding of market stats, along with your delivery, you're going to figure out for them whether or not it's a good fit to work together. Krista, I know, like you said, real estate is everything for you. You know, it's like your life. It's what you do. And so what did you do before real estate that you brought some of those skills with you to the real estate arena?
I was the finance manager for the largest in-volume Harley-Davidson dealership in New England. So a lot of those skills translated directly into real estate. And it's funny, you know, realtors have such diverse backgrounds. I feel more diverse than a lot of other industries. And it's because so many skills from all over the place you can take and relate to real estate. And I like to point out too, that there are 2 million licensed real estate agents in our country. 1.4 million are designated realtors. Why is a client going to choose you? That's what your value proposition is. Out of literally 2 million people that a client could choose to work with, what's your value proposition? What are you bringing to the table? And why should I want to work with you out of the other, 1.99999 million people?
And for everybody on here, I mean, the number one thing is relationships. So it's relationship building. All right. So who you know matters. Your family, your friends, your sphere, your neighbor, book clubs, PTO, organizations. You're going to start there first. Yes. Can successful real estate agents purchase leads or buy leads or lead generate, make cold calls, door knocking. Yes, those are different ways that we can lead generate. But at the end of the day, it's what relationships that you have that you're going to start with to bring to that. And so when we define the value today, this is your roadmap of what we're going to be discussing. So we are going to explore the 3 aspects of service. Then we're going to dig deep into your unique and know your state and value. Then we're going to talk about how do we deliver that value proposition successfully to both a buyer and seller. And then we're going to recap. We're going to talk a little bit about technology and how to manage your database and your contacts and stay in touch with them. And then we are going to learn how to build successful habits. So here we go. Except my screen doesn't want to go. Okay. So your value. It's simple and precise, benefits the customer will get from working from you. So what benefits do you think right now, knowing what you know, what benefits do you think would be beneficial to somebody hiring a professional real estate agent? Just a couple like little ideas on why you think it would be beneficial to hire the professional versus maybe doing it themselves.
Marketing,
Okay, marketing.
marketing the property,
Yeah, like
We'll make them
knowing
more
what to
money.
do and how to market the property to maximize the best results to bring the most money to the seller.
yeah, so like exposure is kind of how I see it. We bring them immense exposure to what they would have.
Okay, we definitely have access to platforms that the public does not have access to. So in Massachusetts, we have MLS. I believe in New Hampshire, it's different. You have NARN, right, Krista? And so the public doesn't have access to those. And in MLS, that is where you'll find a lot. Well, first you'll find out where you're compensated and cooperation occurs. Number 2, usually in the drive, you'll have the title or you'll have the seller's disclosure, but you'll definitely have information about the property that didn't get syndicated out to realtor.com or Zillow and things like that. We definitely have marketing platforms, right? So you'll know that if you're jumping on the Thursday calls with Brooke in the afternoon, Keller Williams does a great job creating the command platform of designs that's integrated with Facebook and Instagram. And we do have different areas and ways to market yourself. And it's exposure, like what exposure? But right now you're a new real estate agent. So some of you are on here for the first time and some of you have taken this class before. And some of you are top agents and you're just jumping in to see, hey, you know what? Maybe I need a little bit of help fine tuning my value proposition for 2022, which is cool. I do see a hand raised, I believe. Not sure what your name is, but did you have a question?
No, I just wanted to add also, like your local connections, like people you know, like contractors, lawyers, appraisers, things like that, that you would get from Zillow or somewhere online.
Yeah, and we're gonna talk about that on that roadmap. Your affiliates, right? Who you know in the business that could help during a transaction, because what you're going to learn is when somebody hires you, they're not just hiring you. It's actually they're hiring a team of people. Okay, so when you're staying in your lane as a real estate agent, you're helping somebody negotiate terms to sell a property, but you are not the lender, you're not the attorney, you're not the appraiser. You can act like a stager, but I say maybe add a little bit of value there when you're doing a listing presentation. But remember, they're hiring you for your negotiating skills and your market share and your knowledge of the market, your delivery, and what you can bring to the table. So number 2, how we convey something. So Krista, do you want to talk a little bit about this one?
Yeah, of course. So really to convey your value proposition, you just need to be able to clearly describe what you're going to do to earn the fee that you charge. This is, I mean, number 2 and number 3 really go hand in hand, because you're conveying what you're going to be doing. You're basically making your client a promise that this is how I'm going to do my job. These are the results that you're going to be getting. And at the end, this is what it's going to look like. So when you're trying to put together your value proposition, it really is, you might have heard this before, your elevator pitch. It doesn't have to be a 10-minute long explanation of services, just something that's kind of quick and snappy, just to say, this is who I am, this is what I'm going to do for you, and this is why you need to work with me instead of the other 2 million realtors in the business. And the covenant is just that promise, basically the promise between you and your client to say, these are the values that I'm going to bring to the table. And this is what you can expect throughout the entire process. And I think that, this is such an important topic because whether or not somebody has sold a house before, I've worked with people who have sold 7, 8, 9, 12, 15 properties. It's going to be different. The laws change every year. It's different from state to state to state. So especially in New England, where our states are pretty small, so people can drive an hour in either direction and be practicing business or hiring an agent in a different state. It's really important to remind these folks and not just expect that, oh, you've sold 12 properties, you know what a realtor brings to the table. Every realtor is different. We're all independent contractors, so your value is going to be, maybe vastly different from somebody even down the hall from you.
I could probably bring this back to most of you have either just gotten your real estate license or you're waiting to take your exam. And so when you talked to other companies and you did your due diligence to see which company worked for you, you could have chosen any real estate company out there. But there is a reason why you chose Keller Williams. There had to be some sort of value that we provide that fit the need that you needed, whether it was technology, support, training, the culture of our company. Go ahead. Did you have a question? Oh. So I'm just going to remind everybody, if you could mute yourselves unless you're purposely unmuting yourself to ask a question, just so that we can limit the background noise. Thank you very much. All right, so I'm just, okay. So the 3 aspects of service we talk about, we're going to dig a little bit deeper about knowing and stating that value and then delivering it. And so 3 aspects of service is purpose, value proposition, and fiduciary responsibility. And so we have to understand, what is the purpose of a real estate professional? So what do you think our job is? And there's no wrong answer here. There's a lot of jobs that we have as a real estate agent, but if you're going to throw out, what is our purpose as the real estate professional, what do you believe that it is?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi. I think the purpose is to serve our clients' customers, whether they be buyers or sellers, and to professionally represent them in one of the largest purchases or sales of their lifetime.
Correct. I love it. I mean, it is one of the biggest financial transactions of your life, unless you do it 7 times because you're starting here and you're moving because of circumstances of jobs, life, children, things like that. And so when we understand the purpose of a real estate agent, to understand the knowledge that we have, understanding the market stats, the contracts. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about how every state has different contracts and how you have a fiduciary responsibility to understand those contracts at a high level. Yes, can buyers and sellers just find contracts online and think that they can play real estate agent? Yes, but why would you play real estate agent? I mean, I know that I could cut my hair myself, but I choose not to. I leave it to a professional, all right? I could landscape my lawn, which would take me a really long time, but I leave it to a professional.
I'm very good at that. I'll come down and help you.
Thank you. Thank you. I am looking for a new landscaper. And so when something is major, like a home transaction, or, you need surgery, then you're going to do your due diligence for yourself and be a big advocate for yourself to figure out which doctor is going to give you the level of customer service and perform whatever that is. Okay. So you have to understand the value. And fiduciary, you need to put your client's needs above all. Come from curiosity. One thing I learned early in real estate, there are a lot of acronyms here at Keller Williams, tons of acronyms. And where I started, unfortunately, was not Keller Williams. It was a private brokerage here in my community. And they loved acronyms too. And one of them was JAQ. And so my manager used to say, JAQ, you'll never get in trouble. So that means just ask questions. Always come from a place of curiosity. Okay. When clients are looking at homes, it's not your job to discuss how you would decorate it or how you would maybe take this wall out to make the kitchen bigger. It's your job to ask really great questions to understand the wants and needs, which are different. And we're going to talk about that in the next coming slides here. What the wants and needs are of your client to deliver the best product. When you're meeting with your clients, you're going to talk about what are the things that you absolutely need. Okay, so somebody really might need 3 bedrooms, and they explained why they need 3. They cannot have 2, they need 3, but they want all hardwood floors. Okay, we'll put that in the want list, but if the house comes with all rugs and it's the right price, then it's our job to try to explain to our clients, we can change out the rugs, we can get an estimate, bring a hardwood person in here to see the difference in the delta. Maybe it's $10,000, $20,000, whatever it is, to put in our hardwood. And would that work for you? Okay, so understanding our clients' needs really is going to help your value proposition, because when you're not listening to them, right, Krista? When you're not listening to your client and you're just running the way that you want to run, you're going to lose that client.
And to piggyback on that, Jamie, you ask why. It's your job to understand their wants and needs. And it's not just, well, I want hardwood floors. Some people need a hardwood floor because their kid might have severe allergies and a rug might absorb all of that stuff and have pet dander and whatever. So to understand the reasonings behind it and just going that one step further and saying, okay, I understand you need 3 bedrooms. Why is that? I have 3 bedrooms. I live by myself. I like to sleep in one room. I like to get dressed in another. And then if I have somebody over, they have their own bed, right? / office, whatever. So it's like wants versus needs. You need to understand the reasoning why. So take the extra time up front at the very beginning. This is a big reason why we push people also, other than safety reasons, of course, to meet your clients in the office before you go out, or meet them for coffee or somewhere before you go out and look at properties. Because if you meet them at the first property and they say, well, I don't really like this, like, see you never, or we'll talk later, you don't know, well, okay, what drew you to this house? What are the reasons why we're standing in this living room right here having a conversation about why this isn't the one for you? You've got to do the heavy lifting at the beginning and ask all of those questions so you understand exactly what they're looking for. And then, later down the road, if they still haven't bought anything and you're at a friend's house for dinner and they're explaining to you, oh, well, I'm thinking about selling, and you say, aha, this would be perfect for one of my buyers that I have.
Yeah.
That bell is going to go off, that light bulb is going to go off a lot more often when you're just kind of out in the world doing things. Say you stop by an open house that may not be perfect for one of your clients, but it is for the other. Maybe you see something that's for sale by owner that they haven't seen online yet. And you say, okay, well, this is perfect for you because I understand what you're looking for.
And to go off what Krista's saying, we're going to now chunk this down to buyers and sellers, because the value of a real estate agent to a buyer is different than your value proposition to your seller. And so let's just go, sorry about that. I don't know what happened there. So for buyers, why do you think, what would be a value for buyers? What do you think that we do? And when we're representing a buyer as a buyer agent, our purpose is to find the right home. And what else? What about price? Is it our job to find our buyers the right home at the right price? Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it's our fiduciary responsibility to run comps to ensure that maybe if our buyers are choosing to purchase a property that is over the value of the property, that we have educated them on that. And then it's their choice. It's not my choice to say, don't purchase this property. It's way too expensive. It's way overpriced. That's not my job. My job is to say, homes like this have sold according to MLS or whatever you're using for your numbers. Homes like this have sold for $350. And so in this type of market, they are going over asking, but the value that's dictated from these reports is about this to this. Now, between their lender and themselves, they're going to make that choice whether or not they want to purchase that home at the price that they're choosing to do. Our job is to find them the right home at the best price in the right time with the least amount of problems. Okay, so you just got into real estate, but you don't realize that you now have become a therapist for your clients. You've become a teacher for your clients, a friend for your clients, a devil's advocate for your clients. You know, at the end of the day, the buck's it's on you. And so they're hiring you with the hopes that you're going to find their dream home, protect their financial assets, negotiate the best terms possible in the amount of time in such a professional way that they actually need that value and they need you to do that for them. And so for sellers, they want similar things, but for them, it's about money. It's about netting the most amount that they can get for their home in the shortest amount of time, again, with the least amount of problems. And so we will always come into, buyer says, well, I don't want to overpay. And the seller says, well, my house is worth this much money. It's an emotional process. And it's your job, part of your value proposition in a professional way is to still have care and obedience and nurture your clients, but always remind them that, it is an emotional process. For sellers, they're selling their home. Okay, I firmly believe it doesn't matter if it's $150,000 or it's a 2.5 million. Memories were made in that home, and they're selling their home. For some people, they might they look at it business-wise and they're like, we're selling a piece of property. And usually that's commercial, by the way, not residential. That doesn't have as much emotional connection as residential. And so it's a big deal for buyers. They want to go preview other properties. They want to make sure that it fits their wants and needs. And for the seller, they just want to make sure that we can net this much money in order for us to go to this next place in life to go have and do what they want. So we talked about value, and I don't want to hit the slides here because they'll go backwards, but I wanted to say with the value proposition, it's important to be included and to include your clients in all three aspects of this service. Okay, so this is kind of right now, we have maybe 50 people on this call. And so as we're asking questions and we're trying to start dialogue and conversations, we know how distracting it can be either working from home or unfortunately doing it through a Zoom platform. We totally understand that. But we also want to start building character and relationships and understanding the value together as a team. Because right now, most of you have not sold 1 or 2 properties yet. So you don't know what you don't know yet. This is like you building this foundational platform of knowledge is everything so that you can go out and be successful. And when you're out there, you have to be able to deliver why, like Krista said earlier, you're different than all the other, I can't remember the stats that you gave, but all the real estate agents that are licensed in the US. And then fiduciary. So in this training, it does talk a little bit about contracts. Every state is different. So when we get to that section, I'm probably going to lean a little bit more on your market centers for that. Again, you have to know your contracts. You have to know your value in order to sign an exclusive buyer agreement or an exclusive listing agreement. That means you're exclusive to that party. They're hiring you and your company to deliver those values that we just talked about when we talk about buyers and sellers. Electronic signature and general forms like that are knowledge. But the deeper contract forms is done differently per state. So we'll probably allow your market centers to dive a little bit deeper. Unless, Krista, you have a real estate license in all these states here and you can whip those up.
Sure don't. And that's a big part of the reason why I work for the largest real estate company in the world by agent count, because I love to be able to get paid on transactions in Utah and in California and in Washington. And all I have to do is make one phone call to another KW agent.
Yeah, I will
Just
say,
saying.
I will say that the referral network here at our company is fascinating. So I'm going to take a moment, like a little timeout, and go down a bunny hole for a second. It's kind of like if you're a Dunkin' Donuts person, you're a Dunkin' Donuts person. If you're a Starbucks person, you're a Starbucks person. And so when you travel, it's only natural that when you travel, that when you get to a different state, if you can find a Dunkin' Donuts, by the way, you are golden. All right. If you're down in the South and you're like, oh, there's a Dunkin' Donuts. Yes, we're going to get Dunkin' Donuts. Now, Starbucks is a little bit more universal. So when you get a Starbucks, you know what you like, you go and get a Starbucks. And so with our company, every market center is individually owned and operated. But you'll notice that the personalities of team leaders are similar. Your market center administrator is similar. You have a training calendar. You have quotes on the wall. We have the red and the gray and the black logos. Everything is kind of built very similar. And so, you know, when you are referring an agent to Wisconsin, that you can pick the phone up and call a team leader over there or some other person on the leadership team and say, hey, listen, my name's Jamie Camrata. I'm from the Boston area. And my grandmother, my aunt, my aunt's neighbor, whoever it is looking to sell their property and I need a top real estate agent. When you send that referral form over, you're getting a referral fee of 25% is probably, Krista, do you agree? 25% is usually the standard across us.
Yep.
But you are completely right. Even if you haven't sold one piece of property, it's those relationships that you have with family, friends, and social media that if you know that someone's trying to sell, take that opportunity and connect them with a local agent in that area to receive your referral fee. All right, so we are going to skip this slide right here. We're going to talk about what buyers want. Okay, so we're going to really dig in deep. This is in your participant guide on page 6. So again, if you don't have your guide in front of you, that's okay. Take some notes. And so what do buyers want? And you'll see right here that they help find the right home to purchase. You want a good person who negotiates on your behalf. The reputation of the agent. This was just a value percentage that gets filled in actually on your participant guide if you had it, on the percentages of the reputation of the agent. And so, guys, with social media, you can look up anything, right? I mean, I remember, and this is dating myself, but if anybody wants to just raise their hand, I mean, I started on a Commodore 64 when I was younger. And so I went from a Commodore 64 and then DOS, and then, you know, AOL is a real thing. I try to explain that to my kids. It's real. It took time for it to go out into the cloud that we didn't even call it cloud back then, to get over to, you know, Uncle Jimmy's house for him to read the email and then to send it back. I mean, those times were real. And so I feel like for technology, it works for us, but it also works against us, right? So everybody wants instant gratification right now. And our society is just building things faster and faster and faster. And so, you know, the reputation of an agent, you want to make sure that that they are good with the board, right? Complaints haven't been made. They're representing you properly. You know, their social media platform for business represents what you're looking for in a professional. You want an agent that's honest and trustworthy. Sometimes an agent is a friend or a family member, and those are always my favorite because, like we said to you, real estate can be emotional. And so sometimes, and Krista, maybe you have a personal story to add to this after, but sometimes a family member wants to use you. They're like, oh, Jamie's in real estate, let's call her. And then other times the family member might say, oh, you know what? We just decided to go with so-and-so because we wanted to keep it not personal. And so that happens, right, Krista?
It sure does. My auntie sold her house. She lives about an hour away from me, and she said, oh, I didn't think that you covered that part of New Hampshire. That's my fault, not hers. Shame on me. She should have known, because I should have expressed to her, I can help you buy or sell anywhere, not only in this state, but in the country. And if I can't, then I've got somebody great, maybe better, that can really help you. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely your job to continue to remind folks in your life. And I just want to piggyback on something that you said, Jamie, in the interest of timing, and people expect everything yesterday. It's a fast food world that we're living in right now, right? So if you have your guide, agent is timely with responses, is so close to the other two. Agent's knowledge of the neighborhood, and agent has caring personality and is a good listener. They're only 2% off. So it's so important that, you know, a quick text to say, hey, I'm so sorry I missed your call. I'm in showings right now. I'll call you when I'm finished. It takes 30 seconds to do, and that can save a client for you. I mean, I had folks that I was working with 10 years younger than me. So of course, you know, they expect everything now or yesterday. They sent me a text message at 8:30 at night wanting some information on a property. And when I sent them a text back at 6 o'clock in the morning, they said, we found someone else. We want out of our exclusive buyer agency agreement with you because you didn't get back to us. 2 hours is too long for us to wait, and you made us wait until 6 o'clock in the morning. And this is 8:30 p.m. that I'm getting a text. So I think that just kind of goes back to setting reasonable expectations with your clients at the very beginning of your relationship, because we all deserve our personal time. You know, I know plenty of people. There's a woman in our market center who I call Wonder Woman, Superwoman, all sorts of other really endearing things, because she will answer her phone at 10:30 at night. You don't have to do that. And I think that it's really important that you let your clients know, hey, I'm here for you all of the time, except for the hours of, 7 to 7 or 8 to 8 or whatever it is, because we work really, really hard in this industry. So you need to give yourself that time. You really need to give yourself and your family that time, for that matter.
I mean, you're setting expectations, guys, for yourself, and the clients are setting what their expectations of you, are they not? So if you don't know these people, or even if you do, if they're family members, you're going to decide whether or not both of you can work together effectively. And so my value proposition, right? Me setting expectations at the beginning and saying, I want to let you know I'm going to work very hard for you on finding the right home, because right now we're talking about buyers, for you with my market knowledge and my timely fashion. And, I start early in the morning at this time, and I go all day, and I do at 7 o'clock at night, unless I'm negotiating an offer, and you're setting time expectations on when you're going to get back or when you're going to spend time with your family. I would expect that the buyers would do the same thing, right? Because when you're talking about their wants and needs, after that, you're going to ask them, what's the best way to communicate with you? Is it by text messaging? Is it by picking up the phone? Is it by email? Is it coming over to have coffee? No, don't do that. That's too much time. But you know what I'm saying? So you have to make sure that, you know, you're mirror and matching, and like there's a sender and a receiver in a relationship. And you need to make sure that you're bringing all that together in your communication skills. And so don't be a secret agent. Krista was just saying that, you know, when you're a buyer agent or when you're a listing agent, you want to let everybody know that you can help them buy, sell, invest in, rent, or refer an agent in any of the US today. And when they say, oh, I had no idea that you were in real estate, that's on you. That's like my friend, my neighbor. I just met some of the people in my neighborhood, and he said, I'm an attorney. I was like, great. And I really wanted to know. So I had to ask him, what type of an attorney are you? If he would have proactively knew his value proposition and elevator speech just a little bit and said, hey, listen, I'm an estate attorney, or I'm a divorce attorney, or I'm a real estate attorney, whatever he was, it just would have been able to help me better understand what he does. When you tell your friends and family that you're in real estate, by the way, you still need to break it down to them to let them know that you can help them list a property, buy a property, rental, investment, or refer. Okay. And so for the buyer wants and values, they want an agent who's honest. They want experience, reputation of an agent, the knowledge of the neighborhood, caring personality and good listener, timely in responses, 100% accessible because of the use of technology like a tablet or smartphone. Like Krista said, if you can't help your client right now, just saying, thank you so much for your voicemail, or thank you for your text, I will get back to you at 4 p.m. You're redirecting, but you're responding in a timely fashion. The association and firm that they belong to, 2%, local community and volunteering in the community, and professional designations, okay? So you can see all those skills on page 6 of your booklet of the wants and needs for value. And as we move over to sellers, actually, let me go back here for a second. Went too fast on my notes here. I want you to actually turn to page 7. So I'm just going to leave this slide on here, but in page 7, it says client-centered language for buyers. And so when we talk about the value, what skill set, and this is where we're going to participate. So if you don't mind, I'm just giving everyone the heads up, you can totally unmute yourself or use the chat box. You know, ideally, we would love all of you to be on camera, and we know that some people don't feel comfortable, but at least we do want to hear from you and participate. So what skill sets do you have or services that you have offered in the past that would help you in real estate with working with buyers? And everybody has something, so.
Jump in?
Jump in, like
Okay.
jump right in, Shelley.
I have a lot of people who phone me quite often. I am known for being thorough in my research.
Okay, so you like to do a lot of research. Hence, as soon as you picked a company, you jumped right into Ignite, and
Yes.
you're doing your due diligence to make sure that the training mirrors and matches the value that you want as a real estate agent. So I love it. I love it. What else? What did we do before, guys? Some of you work part-time, some of you work full-time. So what have you done in the past? Who was a policeman, a firefighter, a teacher? You worked at Kohl's, customer service, you changed tires. What did we do on here?
Okay, I have something.
Okay.
I am actually still in the cosmetology field. So
Okay.
one of my mantras is to provide personal, professionalized hair care.
Yes, I love that. And
And
that, Sorry, go ahead.
No. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I just get so excited with things like that because, you know, we talk about it every single day. This is a completely relationship-based business. And so is something like that. You know, you really have been your client's therapist for a long time,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
you know?
Almost 30 years of that. Oh yeah. I need
Yeah,
a therapist now.
Thank you for your service. You know, but a lot of those skills will translate directly into real estate.
Mhm.
Because the way that you talk to people and the way that you answer their questions and just the way that you interact with them when they're in your chair is so important. You know, you make them feel so comfortable, so they keep coming back to you time after time after time. This is the same thing. You know, we want to create an experience for our clients. We say it all the time. We want to create raving fans.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
Pharmacist for 20 years. Wow. Bartender for 10 years. Sales at K Jewelers. Yeah.
the
See?
bartender is a therapist too. Servers,
Amen.
therapists too. So here's the thing. Almost every job needs some form of communication. Do you agree? Raise your hand. Whether it's verbal communication, whether we're sign language, whether it's through a text message and email, the way that you effectively communicate is going to distinguish whether or not somebody wants to work with you, right? So whatever you did before, I just want you to take a moment while I go back on these slides on page 7. And if you don't have your manual, please just write a couple of notes, but think about a couple of these questions. So what skill sets do you think that you bring as just a human, as an individual to this industry? Okay. What characteristics or habits do you have that might align with working with buyers in this industry? Do you like to time block? Are you on time? Do you like to gather information? Do you like spreadsheets? Are you organized? Do you like technology? Do you use apps? So start thinking about some of those things. And then from there, we're going to talk about client-centered in their language and how we can communicate effectively. So just take a second and write a couple of those down, and we'll share one or two, and then we'll continue on with the buyer value while I go back on these slides here.
Gary, you've got your hand raised. Do you have a question? You're muted also.
I'm sorry. I was
There you go.
acknowledging that I had agreed with what the statement that she'd made previously.
Gotcha. Appreciate it.
No worries.
Wow. Stephen says, I work at a nonprofit providing trauma-informed mental health services to youths in state custody. I work with the community. Thank you for your service. Anybody that knows me, I'm a strong proponent of mental health. I will always have a conversation around it. I think that we need to talk about it a lot more, remove that stigma from it. So Stephen, thank you so much for the work that you do. And I mean, you want to talk about something that translates into real estate. It is such an emotional roller coaster sometimes, especially in this market that we've been experiencing for the past, year and a half plus at this point. And you really do need to, if you don't already know how to, just talk to and coach your clients through this, because sometimes it's easy and sometimes it's not. And it is an emotional roller coaster, and they're looking to you to be their rock. You really do have to be that, what do they call it? The something in the storm.
Weathering the storm.
We call it the solid object.
Yes. Yeah.
Because
You must,
people
Gary watches a
have a
lot.
hard time. They're the storm. They're the craziness, and you have to be the solid object to bring them back.
For sure. And I think that you're going to experience that a lot. If there's a buyer that you're working with and your financing deadline is coming up and the appraiser is nowhere to be found, and the buyer is saying, okay, well, if the appraiser doesn't get their stuff together and get the report in, we're going to lose our dream home. That's a fact. That's reality. That's really happening. So you've got to really try to talk them off of the edge as much as you can. And of course, you're going to work as hard as you can to still come to closing. you know, whether you need extensions or whatever, but you really do need to not let your own emotions take over and be their rock for them.
I mean, I think like I was just in I think our ALC leadership training, Krista, and I think that was the one from Australia. What's his name? Bruce Hardy, and we are problem solvers. So you just got into the industry of solving problems.
100%.
Right. And so how quickly and effectively you do that is also adding to your value proposition. Okay. So there's always going to be hiccups in a transaction. That's how it is. It's a roller coaster ride. Okay. You decided to stand in line, work with clients. They decided to work with you. You're getting into the first seat of the roller coaster, strapping the seat belts. We know what's going to happen. We've watched it. And then it successfully is going to come back to the location. And on there, it's bumpy and it's this and it's that. And it's your job to figure out how to come up with solutions when problems arise. And so everything that everybody on this call did in the past, that has happened. At the beginning of this, we talked about a roadmap of today, of what we're going to be learning. And that roadmap of real estate is no different. And so it's going back to that page 9 or in your books, how effectively and how fast you respond, even if you don't have the answer, is what they want. That's a great question, Stephen. I will get back to you. I can't take your call right now. I'm with other clients, but I will get back to you at 2 p.m. Nobody can fault you or be upset if you are telling people exactly when you're going to communicate back with them. All right, so I'm gonna skip over to here, and we talked a little bit about the value, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about honest and trustworthy in character, and understanding a fiduciary responsibility that if you don't know the answer in real estate, it is okay for you to say, that is a great question. I will get you the answer. And what do I mean by that?
Imperative that you say that, right, Amy? It's not just okay. It is imperative. We're not making things up here.
It's so important because, you know, a big question, let's talk about COVID, right? We all had to stay home for a year, pretty much, unless, I don't know, if you didn't, if you weren't staying home, if you weren't in lockdown, tell me where you're living. But for that year, a lot changed for us. Okay, a lot changed. Tradition, sense of communication, being able to be with people if you're a people person. There's so much. But when people were thinking about staying home, they needed something to do. So if you were going online and trying to purchase anything, you couldn't find a game, you couldn't find yarn, you couldn't find paint, you couldn't find footballs. Literally the things, gym equipment, okay, the things that we take for granted every day, it was scarce. And so people wanted pools, and that's a big one. And so buyers, they want a pool, they want to stay home. And when they're looking at homes, they'll say, I love this home. I love this home. Is the septic in the front yard? Is it on town water, town sewer? Like, what's going on? And they're like, can we build a pool in the back? Great question. Please go down to your local town hall, pull the plans, ask the conservation department, ask this question, tell them that you're potentially purchasing this home. But as a real estate agent, I can't tell you whether or not you can actually put a pool in the backyard. Okay. And so there's going to be times where you want to answer them because you feel like maybe you're nervous about that value and they're asking you questions that you don't know. I would rather, to be honest with you, I'd rather you go around with a clipboard. And when you're showing homes that you've scheduled for your buyers and they have questions about it, if you don't know those answers directly, you write it down and you say, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, these questions that you asked are really great. I am going to call the list agent who's going to talk to their seller to get these answers for you. And so an agent that is honest, effective in communication, doesn't have their voicemail full, professional, they show up. Okay, that's what all the, that's what people are looking for. That is part of the value that you need to bring to the table. So when we talk about sellers, what we talked about is that sellers want to net the most for their property. And sellers always want to do their own investigations. They want to go on Zillow and they want to go online and say, ooh, my house is worth $840. We want to sell. And then they interview a real estate agent like yourself. And they're sitting, with Krista, and they say, so listen, we want to sell our property and we're heading to Florida. And, we're probably thinking about $850 for this house. But Krista's done the market analysis reports and she's brought the knowledge of the market. And it's her job to explain why or why not buyers, not her, buyers are willing to pay that amount or not willing to pay that amount. And so for sellers, they definitely want the most for their value. And they have an emotional attachment to their home. But I put in the best lighting and I put in these new stairs. And I put in, these gold accents. And it's like, I know, but it's still a property. It's a property that somebody's going to purchase. And even though you put your own characteristics to it, which is beautiful and great, we are going to run the comps and this is what people are going to purchase it for. Do you have anything to add in terms of that? While Krista's going to talk, turn to page 8 in your books. That's going to talk about the percentages of what sellers want and what the sellers value, what the sellers want in terms of value from you.
I'm in the middle of typing something to Alexander, so I'm just going to actually delete it. So he says he's 23, hot from job to job since high school, etc. I'm so proud of you for jumping into this career. It's something that I wish I had done a lot earlier. And there are things that I continue to learn through some of our trainings and some of our classes, a lot of the education that we have, because we have so much for everybody at so many different levels. I mean, our Matt Erdman is our regional
director,
and he puts on a wealth building series that I wish I had known a lot of these things 10 years ago, 15 years ago, because the trajectory of my life might have looked incredibly different. So I commend you, Alex, for taking the jump in with both feet. And I think that it's probably the best decision that you're ever going to make in your life. I've seen so many success stories, and it doesn't happen overnight, but it can. And we have the tools and the models and the systems to do that. So of course it is at your own pace, but I've seen so many people show up at our doorstep, broke, no job, 4 kids to feed. We're going to show you how to do that as quickly as possible, as long as you're willing to put in the work. So I'm really proud of you for showing up and putting your best foot forward here. So thanks for showing up, and everybody else that chimed in the chat. Thank you so much. We have behavioral health, we have doctors, we have sports marketing, chef, of course. We love our chefs here. I love to eat, so come up and cook for me any day. Music industry. So all of these industries, you guys, you can pull so many different things that will relate, characteristics about yourself that will relate to a career in real estate, and highlight those. They say if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. So highlight your skill set and the people that you want to work with. I'm not going to say they're just going to naturally show up at your doorstep, but when you put it out there, these are the type of people that I want to work with. This is the type of person that I am. It's really incredible, the results that you'll see.
And it's a two-way street. You can decide not to work with these consumers. We forget about that.
Yes.
When we talk about what sellers want here on your manuals on page 8, what does a seller want? It says help seller market home to potential buyers. 20% want that. They want help pricing the home competitively. 20%. Yet you're still going to have those sellers that in their head, they already think, well, my neighbor across the street, they sold for 500 and they have a ranch and I have a ranch. So I'm thinking maybe 500. And I'm like, that's so awesome. Let's take a look inside of Mr. Jones' house over there and let's compare it to the upgrades that you've done in your property. Help find a buyer for a home. They want to see that value that you're working for them, and how are you going to market the property? How are you going to price it strategically and competitively? And what are you going to do to quickly bring in a buyer so that they can go to their next location? Sellers want sometimes at 14% for you to find ways to fix up the home and sell it for more money. Well, yes, they want you to have a little bit of knowledge that, you know, again, stay in your lane. But with lending, conventional and FHA are two different types of lending. And when you have an FHA property, you need to deliver that property in safe condition. And so if there's broken windows, if there's paint that's chipped, that's not going to pass an appraisal for FHA. So having a little bit of knowledge like that going in, or saying if all the paint was all hot pink, and if we just neutralized it a little bit and spend the $6,000 to paint your entire house, we could probably get more money, because the buyer coming in doesn't want to spend $6,000 for the house, for painting the house. And they're coming in visual thinking, where's my stuff going to fit here? And in order for them to do that, sometimes they can't do that when it's all hot pink walls and there's distraction. And so finding ways to minimize the distraction and the fixer-uppers will be great. Negotiating and dealing with buyers, paperwork, inspections, preparing and settlement, help the seller see homes available for purchase. That's one thing that a real estate agent, and this is the best advice, so everybody listen up. It's like a microphone. There's a microphone on. Don't forget, there are two sides of a transaction. What are the two sides? What two sides of a transaction? There's the what side and the what side?
The right side and the wrong side. Just kidding.
The selling side and the buying side. So why can't you help them in both? You can.
And
I can help my seller list a property and help them purchase a property over here. But that's on me to ask those questions. And sometimes we're so tunnel visioned and excited that we're like, we're going to work with this buyer. I have a buyer consultation. They want to purchase the property. Your first question, I hope, is, do you have anything to sell? And with the seller, when you're going in for that presentation, I hope that you're asking them, let me ask you, where are you going to when you leave here? Do you have somebody helping you on the other side? Because if not, I'd like to refer that person if you're moving to Florida, or I'd like to help you in Western Mass, or I personally want to be able to help you so that we can successfully try to negotiate these terms and conditions when we bring an offer together to mirror and match the dates at which you want the next property on the other side. So just a little side note on that one. Always remember, you can be helping a buyer and a seller, and don't miss that opportunity to do both by not asking the right questions.
Just a little side note on this too, and this is kind of random, but Jamie, while you're going through all of this, these are really great questions to ask somebody that has their home for sale by owner. To call up and have the conversation, say, hey, you know, I'm sure you've gotten a ton of phone calls, and I'm not calling to ask for your listing. I'm just calling to, you know, get some things for clarification. I'm sitting in front of this 2018 study from NAR, and you know, 20% of people who list their homes for sale and are looking for a realtor to help in that process, they're looking for help marketing the home to potential buyers. Mr. Seller, for sale by owner, how are you going to be doing that? And they're going to scratch their head and say, Zillow.com. And you're going to say, that's a great plan. What about help pricing your home competitively? Because the same study says that another 20% of people hire a realtor because they're looking for help pricing the home competitively. How are you going to do that? Zillow.
Yeah.
Wonderful. We all know how accurate that is. And then just kind of go from there. And the more you have somebody like that on the phone and interacting with you, at the end of the conversation, they're going to be like, you're right. I'm not a surgeon. I should not be performing surgery.
Mm.
Little side note, little tidbit.
So what Krista did there is flip the script on a for sale by owner. And so if you're that aggressive person that definitely doesn't mind in terms of the lead generating portion that we're going to talk about towards the end of today's training, different ways of lead generating, picking up the phone and calling a for sale by owner, they automatically expect that they're getting a phone call by an agent who wants to, quote, list their property for them. But if you come from curiosity and you say, actually, I'm calling because I want to know where you're going, and I'd like to help you get there if no one's helping you already, that's going to throw them off their game because they were already getting ready to answer the call because all these real estate agents are calling about getting the listing. Does that make sense to everybody? So when we get to lead generating, we'll kind of play some of those scenarios that you might want to tune in as creative ways right now to get business, because we all came into this industry, it's compensation, it's commission based. And so we've already shelled out money to be in this business, and we haven't potentially received any money coming in. And so when we talk about lead generating, we'll give you some great ideas to jump in and get a successful transaction closed by the end of this year, hopefully. So page 8 that Krista was citing from your participation manual is an important page because those percentages, those are the values and what the sellers want. All right, Krista, I think, why don't we give everybody like a 5-minute break, maybe just refill your coffee, your water, stretch.
I saw my first yawn, so I figured we might want to give people a stretch break.
I mean, come on. So 5 minutes. So I have 10:08. So I would like everybody to come back in 5 minutes and come back onto your cameras. And again, if you can turn your cameras on and be more present, that would just help you get more information from it. It's not required. But when we go into who are your competitors in our next section, we are going to be doing breakout rooms. And so there will be a lot of participation on the second half. So 5 minutes, we will see you back. right. We have another minute here, and we're going to continue on who are your competitors and understanding that. As of right now, let me see on the chats. Does anybody have any specific questions so far about buyer, seller wants, needs, and values that we've gone over? I don't want to get too far ahead if we have any questions. And let's see, is the participant booklet specific for each training? Yes, the participant booklet is specific for each of the sparks. So today's is number 6. So Spark 6 value proposition has its own participation manual. Tomorrow you'll have 7, and that will have its own manual. So we recommend either print them out. I recommend maybe going to your market center because it's at low cost and printing out all of the exact. So Krista has hers, just so that you know, I have mine. If I have mine that are all individually done. And here's why. Even though we teach these classes, I also turn back to them sometimes when we have newer agents or even experienced agents with a question. And I have my notes on here of some things just to go back to. And so it's just an organizational way that I stay organized. But some of the graphics and the charts and stuff are in your participation manual. Otherwise, if you're just doing it in a notebook, that's fine too. Okay, so this is for you. We did share the links at the beginning of the chat, but Krista, as I move forward, do you want to just copy paste that link to everyone just to give them again? And we apologize if you didn't hear us at the beginning. Our emails we'll put at the end again, so you'll have our emails directly if you need us. And there is the Google Drive that has all of the participation manuals for all of the elements and the sparks. All right, so we are going to continue here and talk about your competitors. So why is it important to know what your competitors are doing? And by the way, who are your competitors? So why is it important, and who do you think they are? And this is where we're going to do participation. We like the group setting, but we are going to be breaking you out, and Krista, maybe you can help me after. In a little while, we're going to be breaking you out in a breakout rooms because we want you to work on some of the stuff that you're learning. The things that you're learning now, we want you to implement into your business. So why do you need to know about your competitors, and who are they? All right, you just want the answers. I know it's a Monday. You saw those football games yesterday. I just gotta tell you, some of those point margins, they weren't helping my office football pool. I'll tell you that. It was
way off this week. Shelly has her hand up.
Sure, Shelly.
Well, I want to throw this out there, if you will, because I've received a lot in conventional mail in this past week, a lot of invitations to entertain other agencies and so forth. And one in particular has said to me that they're so overloaded with referrals that if I wanted to take on more, please stay in touch, and left your number, or another woman from another agency. So they may be competitors in some way, but they also may toss business in your direction for whatever the reason, I would think. So be careful as to how you tread there, would be my opinion of that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, marketing, right? So your competitors are either the organization, which I see in the chat, you know, Zillow, Redfin, the other brokerages, or they're individual agents that might be your competitors. Whoever is going up against you in a listing presentation is your competitor. Okay. And same with open houses, and same with agents that are doing technology or marketing. They're your competitor too. They're getting their name out there. They are not a secret agent. Okay. Here's where I'm going to digress, Krista, again. Another big piece of advice that I learned early on was do not be a secret real estate agent. So what does that mean? Don't make the assumption because you put on Facebook 3 months ago, hey, everybody, I got my real estate license. I'm in real estate. I can help you. Let your friends and family know. That was 3 months ago, number one. Number two, it's your job to market yourself and casually know what we call your elevator speech, to let people know that you are in the business of real estate and that you can help them specifically with buying, selling, investing, and renting, or referring an agent in a different state. If they don't know what you do, they can't help you.
I think it's, what is it, Jamie? 13 times is the average that you need to tell somebody something before they remember it.
I think my kids think it's 56, but we'll go with 13 today.
You have 3 boys, let's be fair.
Yeah, 13 times.
That though, you know, when you're marketing and when you're talking to your people, and it doesn't have to be a conversation where, you know, you call all of your friends and family once a month and say, hey, do you have any referrals for me? If you call them up and say, hey, how's life? How are things going on? And they're going to say, well, how's your job? How is your career? How are things going with you? And just talking to them about it puts that bug back in their ear. So it doesn't have to be calling for a handout. It can just be like, oh yeah, the market's crazy and things have been wonderful. I'm never too busy for, you know, your business. But at the end of the day, if you just continue to talk to them and tell them stories, of course, respect confidentiality, but just telling them real estate stories about, oh yeah, we put an offer in for a buyer and they had 37 other offers and holy cow, we won. Isn't that nuts? You know, they're going to remember those stories. They're going to remember those little tidbits of information that you're telling them. And then when they hear, oh, my next door neighbor wants to sell their house, I gave them your name and number, you're going to say, aha, because I told you 13 times and you remembered.
Yeah. And if you haven't sold anything, by the way, I would get creative on, oh, in my mastermind, sometimes you don't want to say training, and I get that. You know, in a mastermind group that I participated in last Thursday, we were talking about the value proposition that agents bring when taking a listing in today's market or working with buyers in this crazy market. Okay. So it's on you to get creative, but it's for you exactly 13 times to reiterate, whether you're doing it verbally or subliminally. So what do I mean by that? You know, I don't need a massage today. However, maybe after I've shoveled 2 feet of snow, okay, we get these emails that come in from Element Spa, or, you know, I'm specifically using one scenario that says, here are the availabilities for today. Here are the availabilities for today. And I don't need those today. And I don't remember that they're there because that's not what I'm like really focused on. I'm not really focused on that until I'm focused on it. And then I'm like, oh, wait, Elements, that's right. They do massages and they send me an email all the time. And so I can go back to my email to find the time. And that's why, whether it's verbal, you're making phone calls and reminding care calls once a quarter, hey, just want to let you know, I'm still here selling real estate, helping buyers and sellers and investors if you know anyone, or you're putting them on a smart plan. What's that, Jamie? We'll learn about that. It's Keller Williams technology. We're putting them on emails. We're sending out text messages. However you're staying in front of somebody, it is your job to repeat yourself, and don't feel bad about repeating what you do for a profession now, okay? Because to be honest with you, how many of you have ever been turned off by somebody reminding you of what they do? Okay, so based on delivery, maybe, okay? If I have my friend who sells Pampered Chef and every day she's like, do you need any Pampered Chef? Do you need any this? Da-da-da? Well, their delivery might, right? Her delivery might be too much for me, okay? Whereas I feel like somebody was talking about cosmetology, you know, and like hair appointments and haircuts and things like that. And if I was, you know, in a conversation out and about and I needed a glaze or a cut or a blow dry or whatever, and they reminded me, hey, I'm in the industry and I do have a 2 o'clock that I could take you, you know, on Saturday. I know I'm not your hairdresser, but I definitely can give you a great blow dry. I'm in because I needed it. So when people are, when they have a sense of need, they're in. You're not turning them off by reminding them. And so you need to know who your competitors are and what they're saying. and what their market knowledge is. So why would somebody not choose you? Take a minute on a piece of paper and write down what you firmly believe. Why would someone not choose you today? Like, based on your knowledge, based at where you are in your real estate career, why wouldn't they choose you? Now, you should only have 1 or 2 answers there. Shouldn't be a long list, okay? Because you're gonna now turn to the right side, on the right side of that paper, and why would they choose you? Because all the things that you wrote on why they wouldn't, ask yourself, why not? If you don't have enough market knowledge, what are you gonna do about it? Take a class on market knowledge, study up on the market, get into your MLS or your Nerin or whatever platform that you have that shows trainings on that. Jump into classes.
We have a really great class on absorption. So if you guys are newer to the industry and you don't understand that yet, get very familiar with that. We say that the best way to do that is to teach it. So even if you're teaching it to your cat or your dog or your children, at the end of the day, practice things like that, because that's going to put you light years in front of your competition. Zillow's not talking about that with their clients, right? Like Redfin agents aren't talking to their clients about things like that. So when you are using those terms in that vernacular, your clients are going to be like, oh my God, she's a wealth of knowledge.
So I want to do this activity together, and then we're going to go ahead, Krista, and try to break them out into breakout rooms. So I stopped sharing my screen just to get a little bit more purposeful with everybody on here, because, you know, I firmly want you to believe there's a reason why you're here. I don't personally know that reason, but you know that reason. And so whatever objection that you have, that you wrote on why somebody or what holds you back, we want to help you through that and give you redirection as to how to overcome that column so that you can concentrate on the column of the value that you do have today. So is there anybody who wouldn't mind, in a safe, comfortable platform, sharing 1 or 2 of the reasons on that you feel maybe why they wouldn't hire you today?
I'm inexperienced.
Okay, inexperienced. How many of you feel that way? Okay.
In
So
real estate for 8 years and I still feel like that sometimes. So I understand the sentiment.
2009, I got my real estate license. And sometimes I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. And so, okay, so you're inexperienced. So now break that down. And what are you inexperienced in?
The business as a whole, honestly.
Okay.
How I feel.
Yep. So when you think about that question, it can be overwhelming, like we're inexperienced, but what area? It sounds like you effectively can communicate, and that you're you have a great personality because you raised your hand and got right in there. And a lot of people look at that as a value, because I want somebody at an open house or somewhere to control and take ownership of the situation and say, hey, you know what? Let's look at this over here. What are you looking for, right? So you picked up on that as a positive. So you're inexperienced maybe with what? Forms, documents, market, you know, forms and documents, by the way, are very important, because if you can't write these contracts, we have nothing, all right?
Yeah.
However, those are classes, all right? Those are just classes. If you don't have a productivity coach in your market center, ask your team leader to be in relationship with another market center to figure out how to watch these forms and document classes, because we have them, they're recorded, to understand how to write a contract and how to write a buyer contract. and negotiate a contract, okay? So that's role play. And so that's what your market center should be doing. But the value proposition that you bring once you understand market stats is effective communication, timely organization, your style and personality, right? When I work with somebody, I need them to fit, they need to fit my personality, okay? And so we all experience that. How many of you have bought a car? Okay, rented a car, borrowed a car, I don't care. But the car industry is a really great one because I might know that I want, you know, the new Ford Bronco or the Ford Explorer. And if I go into, listen, if you're going to a car dealership in 2021, you're committed on buying a car. Why? Because everything is online, the price, the package, the wheels, the extra, all. The only reason I'm going there is to test drive and to negotiate, period, right? But if I get in the dealership and I'm not feeling it, or this person isn't knowledgeable about the car, and I'm a detailed person, right, Shelly? Like I've done all the research and I'm like, you know, how does it perform in snow and this and that? And I have the sales rep who's like, good, bad, just what you want. And if they're not owning it, I'm out. I'm out because I worked really hard for that money. It's the same with real estate. Some people said that they worked bartender or in the restaurant industry, right? How many of you, and be honest, can't be just me, how many of you have sat at a table for dinner in a restaurant or for lunch and you either really did walk out because you were feeling after she was going to get your water, it wasn't going to work, or you definitely felt it, but you sat there and you took it for lunch, but you didn't like who your server was, right? That's pretty much everybody. And we have a choice, believe it or not. And I work really hard for my money. And if I'm not feeling it and I'm here giving 20%, I want that experience. And so for everybody on here, yes, you are inexperienced, but your market center's not. The agents in your market center's not. And nobody needs to know that you haven't sold a house yet.
I'd like to tell you a quick little story about my first sale ever in real estate. It was a condo. It was for like $119,000 or $139,000, I think it was. Nothing crazy. These folks have bought and sold 7 or 8 properties. They said that I was the best realtor that they ever worked with. I had gotten my license like the day before, basically. I mean, it was so soon after I got my license. So just because you're inexperienced doesn't mean that that needs to translate into a poor experience for your customers and for your clients. You work for the largest company in agent count in the entire world in terms of real estate. You work for the best company in terms of training and technology across all industries in the world. So hang your hat on that. You know, I don't know what market center you're out of, but lean on them.
And always use we.
Know that you're new.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Always say we. We've sold many homes. Next question.
Right.
I mean, listen, this isn't our first career. Nobody's 12 on this call. Okay. No one's 12. And so
and I commend that.
Your first job, just think about when your first job is. I mean, I worked at Friendly's. That was my first job. Scooper of the month. Like, and I had to fake it till I make it. I remember taking my first order from somebody and they're like, oh, like whatever, like how's the tuna melt? I'm like, it's so good. I don't even like tuna. I was hoping that maybe it's going to be as good as this person wanted. Right? So we've all been nervous and inexperienced in everything that we do. But to be honest, I had to believe in myself and take my like fun personality. And I really wanted to please this person. And I wanted to take care of them. And I wanted them to be happy. So I wanted something successful for them. And that's what you're going to do. the last portion of your value proposition, whether you choose it or not, okay, and I say this because not everybody loves technology. Now, because of COVID, we were all forced as an independent contractor, whether you were a landscaper, plumber, anything, real estate agent, attorney, we all figured out how to still do business in an environment where our country was on lockdown and closed, but we still had to somewhat make money or keep our businesses afloat or alive somehow. And honestly, technology allowed the opportunity for some of those people to succeed and to keep their places open. I own 2 restaurants with some business partners, and it was a horrible time to open up a brand new restaurant in November of 2020 and COVID on March 17th. Happy St. Patty's Day to this Irish girl. And I was like, what's happening right now? Okay. And so technology was our best friend. Facebook, social media, and pop-ups, and so that they could come to the restaurant and learn a little bit more that we're kind of still open. So in real estate, if you choose, we do have a lot of technology that can enhance your value proposition for your clients. You get your own personalized website at Keller Williams. There's an app that's designed for you. You have a whole platform in command of all designs and all this great stuff for you to learn how to implement and use. If you choose not to, can you still be a successful real estate agent? Yes. It's just that you're choosing not to use the platform of technology for those things. I will tell you though, it is 2021 and you really, at least for technology purposes, need to understand DocuSign or Dot Loop within your market center to electronically sign forms back and forth. Because 95% of people will sign electronically, documents, contracts, things like that. There's a 5% that might still like that whole, and this is me, pen and paper and folders, pen, paper and folders. Okay. And if they want that, that's always an option. And so with KW, with your app and things like that, that adds to the knowledge of an experience, right? That we don't have, that we throw out there as a value to the consumer. As a buyer, I'm like, download my app. When you download my app, it will say, a GPS tracking, it shows you with one touch of a button, all the houses that are for sale at that given moment, as soon as I open that app as a consumer. Even if I'm at the Cape with my family, and I'm like, oh, wouldn't it be nice to have a second home and work really hard to, purchase this home? I wonder what properties are going for around here. Bloop, I open the app and it tells me immediately. Do you think that's a value proposition for sellers? Yes, because if I have a great database, or if I know a lot of people, or if I use a QR code, how many of us learned how to use a QR code during COVID? My mother can now use it. The grandmother is using QR code, guys, in order to eat at restaurants without touching stuff. Apple basically, so remember when the QR code came out, you had to download it as an app? Okay, too complicated. But then a crisis happens, and isn't it amazing how Samsung and Android and Apple can just make it part of your camera? And so as soon as you load it up, it gives you something. So if you can understand QR codes, guys, you can change your business too, because a QR code can go anywhere you want it to go. And it's a 20-minute class on how to learn that. So technology can be your value proposition. So Krista, let's do some breakout rooms to work together. So based on everything that you learned, you are going to craft on page 13 of your participation manual. And if you don't have that, that's fine, just a scrap piece of paper. And basically your value proposition statement is a unique, memorable, and persuasive statement that expresses the true value of working with you. So even with the things,
one before we break out and craft your own, would it help you guys to hear a value proposition? I'm seeing some nods. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm not telling you mine because mine doesn't matter in this situation. So this, I'm not going to tell you who it is. It's Adam Dow. He runs the #1 team in the state of New Hampshire and has for many years. He will tell you himself all day, he is absolutely 100% for R&D. If anybody knows what that is, it is not research and development, it's rip off and duplicate. So steal from the best, make it your own. And make it your own is a very important part, because we talked about this before. This is a covenant between you and your client. This is a promise that you're making. So if you're making somebody else's promise that you're not planning to deliver on, don't do that. So, and this is for buyers. He has 2 different value propositions, one for buyers, one for sellers. They're both very similar in their wording. And this is a little bit wordy. It's a little bit long. We do like to kind of keep it short and more to the point. But when you're selling 100 million in real estate every year, sometimes, you need things to be a little bit longer. So exclusive buyer brokerage represents only home buyers, never sellers. It's a true fiduciary relationship of transparency and trust, usually at no cost to the buyer. For many people, buying a home is the single biggest purchase of their life. Making an offer and negotiating with a seller can be one of the most difficult and stressful parts of the home buying process. You want an expert to represent you and your interests. Your buyer agent negotiates on your behalf throughout the entire transaction, saving you time, money, and avoiding potential problems. So everything that's in there, I think, is important. I feel like a lot of people will make it this long paragraph to begin with, and then kind of go back and cut the fat and take this out. I think that every word in there is necessary, and I think that it's direct, it's to the point. Yes, it is the same as an elevator pitch, Michael, and that's a great way to put it. It should be concise, it should be direct, and it should have words like saving time or money or avoiding potential problems, and giving the client a really good idea of exactly what it's going to look like and feel like when they work with you.
Krista, I want you to read it again, and I want everyone to write the key words that jump out to you that you hear. The key words, guys, that you hear right now in the time and space that you are, those are your value propositions. They will be added to your value proposition. So read that again. And I want you to take just a couple of notes on some of the key points or words, so that when you go to craft yours, you're probably going to be inserting some of these words yourself.
So exclusive buyer brokerage represents only home buyers, never sellers. It's a true fiduciary relationship of transparency and trust, usually at no cost to the buyer. For many people, buying a home is the single biggest purchase of their life. Making an offer and negotiating with a seller can be one of the most difficult and stressful parts of the home buying process. You want an expert to represent you and your interests. Your buyer agent negotiates on your behalf throughout the entire transaction, saving you time, money, and avoiding potential problems. And that's not rocket science, right? Like, those are just a lot of meaningful words put together in a way that makes you feel like, okay, this is a person that I can trust, that I can work with to do all of the dirty work for me. So at the end, I come out, not beaten and bruised.
Yeah. Just take a couple of minutes here and start crafting your value proposition. Like, why would somebody work with you exclusively as your agent, as your buyer agent, as your list agent? We or I will provide. And then what words did you highlight or write down that you firmly believe mirror match your integrity that you're going to give for service with your clients?
That's a very important word, my friend Jamie. Integrity. Let's chat about that. What does integrity mean to you guys? Anyone?
Means a lot.
It does. It means everything.
It
feel.
really does. People
It
want to
does.
work with people that have integrity. You
Yeah.
don't want to just sell somebody a home. You want a repeat customer.
Yes, raving fans, right? We want to create raving fans. We want to make promises to them that we know that we can deliver on. Tanisha in the comments is doing the right thing. I like to add to that because integrity equals doing the right thing always, period. And when no one's looking, right? Like not just, oh, I'm doing the right thing out in public and, you know, my Facebook posts make me look like I'm this great person, even when no one's looking, because that's when you get yourself in trouble.
Actions and words meet each other.
Brad said the same thing as I was saying it. Love it. You're going to do great.
Love it.
Honest and ethical. Yep.
Krista, do you want to break them out just for 5 minutes? While
Sure.
they're working on it? And why don't you share with the group that you're in, just a small group, again, we're just gonna take 5 minutes, of what your value statement is. And if you haven't gotten there yet, maybe some of the keywords that you heard that you'd like to add to your value proposition that you believe with integrity is how you want to represent clientele.
Guys, I just want to say real quick, we just lost 2 people dropped off. If you don't feel comfortable sharing or anything like that, please stay on. We're not doing this to make anybody feel, you know, uncomfortable or whatever, but these sessions are so important, even just to hear other people saying things and getting the juices flowing. So if you don't want to participate, we would love for you to, but please just stay on and hang out with us because you will get some golden nuggets, even if you're just kind of hanging out. So we're going to break out into some rooms just for a few minutes and try to get a value prop going. Assign automatically. I can do that. How many rooms do you think?
Well, I think just small rooms, there's 40 people. So I don't know, 5 in each room.
Cool.
8 rooms.
Yeah, let's do 8 rooms. See what happens. Jamie, I don't know if it's assigning one for us or if we're already in one.
I don't know, but if people were, you know, just kind of stepped away for any purpose and they didn't hit join room, then they'll be part of here. So let me just see.
1 more minute. I'll give them
And
1
we're
more.
back, everybody. Well, we are going to bring everybody back from their breakout rooms and learn maybe from 2 or 3 people what they crafted as their value proposition.
All participants have been given 60 seconds to leave their breakout rooms.
Love it.
I need to get this in a better format. I have this just like posted onto my wall, and it's nice that it's laminated and doesn't fly around, but I want a big giant one with a frame. Speaking of,
What is that you're holding?
so we're going to go over this. A lot of folks who are newish to us haven't seen this before. This is our Y4C2Ts. If you have not heard this before, it's our belief system and kind of our code that we live by. It's our G code, if you will. And we were talking about artwork in our office a hot second ago, so I want to show everybody. Can you see that?
Oh yeah,
Does anybody know what that is?
camper.
Chris Farley, when he was on Saturday Night Live 100 years ago, did a skit where he was a man that lives in a van down by the river. That's the man in the van down by the river.
All righty, we're gonna back into our breakout sessions, value proposition.
Cool art on the walls is my value proposition. Just kidding.
All right, how did that go? Not too scary. Hopefully, does anybody want to share anything that they got from it, or some new words that they might have picked up that they added to their value proposition? We'd like to hear from 2 or 3 people before we move on to our next topic.
I can share what we did. Hold on,
Okay, thank you.
trying to find a. So I was telling the folks on ours, I'm trying to find my document. So I have been reading a book, good book, put a plug in for the one-page marketing plan.
Mm-hmm.
And that author does a good job to try to say, well, when you're doing your marketing elevator pitch, you don't want to go by you and products you offer, but what's the customer and their need or what you're trying to solve.
Mm-hmm.
So just so happens good timing, I was working on this weekend. So I provided my group what I came up with.
Okay.
First pass, I know it has to be tweaked. So I'll share it and you guys can say what you think. So
Great.
I'm like, let's assume I'm in a meeting and someone say, well, what do you do for a living? So this is it. So you know how buying or selling a home could be a challenging or stressful experience? Well, what I do is partner with my clients to educate and guide them through that complex process to help them achieve their real estate goals in a more enjoyable and less stressful way. In fact, I back it up with a satisfaction guarantee.
I love that.
Fantastic. Now, many of you have put your drinks down and you're like, I should have been writing that down. That was so great. And so, yeah. So why don't you repeat it one more time?
Sure.
And because like Krista said, we're a firm believer that why reinvent the wheel?
Yeah.
If this is what you believe and you stand by and you add a couple of words to add character to your own statement, then by all means, don't overthink the process. Use Michael's or use Adam Dowd's or use somebody else's. It's only going to help you be better, right? So,
Yeah.
Michael, if you don't mind, can you just repeat that one?
Yeah, I can cut it, paste it into the chat as well.
God, the value here, that would be great. Now he's going to cut it right into the chat. So those of you who really liked and appreciated that style, copy, paste it now and put it into a Word document on the side of your computer so that you can have it later to build off. Could we hear from one more person then that either can say what they got from it, some words that they added, or maybe feels comfortable reading a little bit of what they had? I know it's so close. Some of you are like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to unmute myself. You can do it. You can do it.
And this is another one of those things where we're always, as humans, a work in progress. Your value proposition is the same thing. You don't have to put it together and put it out to the world and that's it. That's over. That's done. You can start, if you want, with just a list of words, and then from there, create sentences from it, trim it here, add there, and it will all come together. And when it's right, it will feel so good rolling off your tongue that you won't have to ever look at it to reread it. It will just make so much sense to you. So you've got to start somewhere. Can't eat an elephant all at once. So I think that that's really important for you guys to hear, because this is a lot of information. It can get very overwhelming. But use the resources that you have printed out, or if you saved it to your computer, because there are a lot of really good pages in there. If you look at page number 12, the mind map, they talk about services, skills, knowledge, character. That all will add into your value proposition.
I was just going to say that, Krista, on page 12, it's actually helping you define the value proposition in the middle, your character, services, skills, knowledge. What I heard on Adam's, some of those words, purchase, negotiating, expert, interest, time, money, and avoiding problems. That's why people are hiring you. They're hiring you because you have knowledge of the market. You understand documents and forms and some legality. You have connections in the industry for lenders and attorneys to help them successfully close on a transaction, whether on the buy side or the sell side. And if right now you're like, actually, I don't know anybody, this is only my 6th day in and I'm on this Ignite and this is what I'm learning, that's okay too. Your market center is affiliated with people. Attorneys, they bring in lunch and learns. Lenders, sometimes are in the office. things like that. And I definitely encourage you to get out there and participate or go to your local board stuff. I see that you're another chart, Krista, another chart.
On my wall right behind my computer. Yeah, this is from the White Mountain Board of Realtors. It's our affiliate members. I have it right behind my computer at all times. So if you don't have, you know, a book of people, I always say, oh, I've got a guy. If you don't have a guy, your local board, I'm sure, will have a guy.
Mm-hmm. All right, so while we're doing that, I talked about that big word, integrity. And so I would like Krista, she was holding up at the beginning of the breakout session when we came back, what we call another acronym here in our company, the Y4C2Ts. And people are like, what is that?
It's a lot, is what it is.
Yeah, so Krista's gonna break it down for you guys, then we can move on.
The reason that we talk about this is because, you know, putting together a unique value proposition, of course, is very important. Delivering on that is more important, because you don't want to make promises that you can't keep. You don't want to overpromise and underdeliver, because then you're not going to ever work with that person again, and they probably might not have very nice things to say about you moving forward. So I like to go through this. It's our belief system, the Y4C2Ts. If you can't see this, I'm sure, I forget where to find it, but I can find it in a second and pop it in the chat so you guys can have it and print it out and put it on your walls. So everything from day to day has got to be a win-win. If it's not a win-win, we're not going to do it. Win-win or no deal. That's the first W in the Y4C2Ts. And then second is integrity, that word that we all love, doing the right thing even when nobody is looking, which of course is very important when you're making promises and you're trying to make good on those promises. You need to do that with integrity. Customers always come first. Commitment in all things. Communication, where we seek first to understand. Going back to, you know, in the beginning of this session, asking all of the questions before starting to work with a client, understanding all of their wants and all of their needs and the why behind that is incredibly important. Creativity, ideas before results, teamwork, together everybody achieves more. This company is so beautiful compared to a lot of other brokerages, because we truly believe in teamwork. If we can't work as a team, nothing can happen. Even market center to market center, it's like, sure, technically we're all competition, but we're all friends here, and it's a really beautiful thing. And I don't think that people understand, and you know, sometimes it can get taken for granted. We really are one big giant team under the KW umbrella, and we are all friends here, and we need to act accordingly and work together. Trust starts with honesty. Honesty is something that you owe everybody, regardless of whether they're a client or a customer. Whether it's a seller on the other side of a transaction and you have the buyer side, you must act in honesty in all doings. If you don't have honesty as a realtor, you don't have anything. So just remember that trust starts with honesty, equity, opportunities for all, and success results through people. We don't succeed on our own, we succeed together.
Perfect. And so that's why we're all participating on this call, because, you know, we might be inexperienced, but you're here to learn. And so in my opinion, it's best we learn when it's not just the instructor giving information, but that sometimes we go off and share our personal experiences, and then some of you chime in with questions, concerns, or your experiences too. It makes, when something's interactive, I just feel like more people get something out of it. And so, so we're going to go back to the slides, and we're going to talk about distinguishing yourself with the information that you currently have now, and how do you distinguish yourself with your value to the sellers and buyers in the industry, and growing that. So I'm just going to continue sharing my screen here. I apologize. Okay. All right, so distinguishing yourself. All right, so on page, let me just go here. All right, so in your booklet again on page 14, we are talking about what kind of knowledge are you expected to have, right? So we talked about the inexperience right now that we don't have. Maybe we don't understand how to pull market reports. Okay, let's put that over here. We're going to take a class on it. But being your local expert in a neighborhood, I don't know how to do that. Okay, let's put that over here. We need to distinguish you amongst the other people because it's a saturated industry. You know, just like, I mean, I feel like every time I turn the corner, a new hair salon is opening, a new nail salon's opening, a barbershop's opening, a restaurant is opening. And I think to myself, wow, how do they survive? And they survive because there's some sort of value or concept or design or price or something that works for the consumer, does it not? And so when you drive by and you see something like that, you're going to be attracted to it. So we need to learn how to distinguish you from everybody else. And so there is an activity for a group to select a neighborhood that you like to focus on and discover resources that help keep you informed on that neighborhood and how it's developing and possible areas of interest to include. Now, I think that that's a great activity to do as a group once we're distinguishing ourselves. But our value proposition isn't just something that you say, right? With the integrity of oneself, it's mirror and matching. Your words and your audio, they need to match with the integrity to yourself. So let's see, we're gonna talk a little bit about maybe learning mind self and self-mastery. Has anyone had the opportunity to take these 6 personal perspectives in your market center yet? Okay, so definitely on a piece of paper, write down 6 personal perspectives. And the best practices of all top agents fall within the 6 personal perspectives that Gary Keller has taught. And so if they haven't taught that in your market center, you can definitely find that in the command platform or in recordings about that. But how do you keep up with the industry? How do you keep up, besides with the trainings, of what your competitors are doing? Somebody mentioned today, oh, I get mailers in the mail. Okay, well, that's one way of indirectly knowing maybe what Jamie Camerata is doing for mailers. But what other ways do we figure out what other people are doing in the industry? What about things like this? Right now, this is a training, right? But our company offers a lot of mastermind events. Facebook, all right, whether you post or not, Facebook is a great place, even if you just create a profile and you choose not to use it, to find a lot of these mastery groups for agents where they share. Agents are dying to share what works for them. Why? Why do you think we're at a company where people just want to share what works for them?
Makes us all better.
It makes us all better. And how many people do you think, if I shared how to net $1 million, or if I shared what I did today, this weekend to get a listing, how many of you would really go the extra mile and do the same thing that I did after I shared with 50 people on the call? Maybe 5 of you might be like, challenge accepted, I'm doing it, right? And then like halfway through that challenge accepted, that person's like, bloop, they got distracted, bloop, I'm sorry, I don't have a printer, I can't print that. Something is going to do it, but maybe one person actually implemented it all the way, right? And so it's natural to have all these ideas of what value we're going to give to buyers and sellers, but you got to stay true with the integrity to you. What are you willing to do? You know, what are the hours you're willing to work? How do you organize yourself? Are you a PowerPoint kind of person? Me, I'm not. As you saw, even as a team leader, I struggle with the PowerPoint. It's just not my thing. But on screen, if we just had all of us, that's more my thing. And so if I wasn't doing a regional training and I was doing one for my market center, I would stay true to who I am. And that's where you need to know, with the information that you have today, how you're going to distinguish yourself in this industry, not just with your value, but what are you doing for marketing? What have you adopted for technology, if any? As we start talking about creating the stellar experience, Krista talked at the beginning of our calls about setting the expectation. Has anyone ever been upset that somebody has set the expectation for a meeting or for what's going to occur? I've never met that. If somebody says, okay, you're gonna have your tooth removed today, and if I've never had my tooth removed and I had somebody tell me what's going to occur, great. I'm not mad that they guided me through a process from start to finish of what's going to happen, and they allowed me the opportunity to give my questions and concerns, to meet my wants and needs of what I'm looking for so that I feel comfortable. If someone's willing to do that for me, I'm in. If somebody is not hearing me, listening to me, not setting that expectation, not prepared, they're not, I don't want to work with them. And so it's your job to create I call it a 5-star customer service, right? Like a stellar experience. What would be a stellar experience to you? And so some of you are taking notes, which is awesome. And I want you to jot down some keywords that if you were going to work with today, you were hiring somebody to list your property. So let's do the list side. What qualities do you want this person to have? Is marketing important to you? Write that. Having your own website. 123 Main Street is my house. I want my own 123mainstreet.com website. That's important to me. Communication, important to me. That they bring in the buyer, important to me. They take the listing free. Like, no, that's not true. But in the compensation, right? We're not in the industry just for compensation, but at the end of the day, we still have to talk about it. And so a seller, if you don't know your value proposition, and if you don't know what you bring to the table, they might not want to sign it at 6%. They might want to negotiate to 5% or 4%. Or they might challenge you and say, hey, Peter, I just had Gretchen Papineau come in and do a comparative market analysis of my home or a listing presentation, and she said she'd take it at 4%. So would you take it for 4%? Or she explained what she's going to do for 4%. What does your 4% or 5% or 6%, what does that get me? So distinguishing that, but then creating an experience that's so great. You know, I have one of my leadership members right now. She loves Disney. Okay, she loves Disney World. I mean, I'm an adult. I mean, I'd be curious on here, how many of you love Disney? As an adult, like you want to go back to Disney. Some people go every year. They love Epcot. They love the whole Harry Potter thing, and it's the happiest place on earth, and they love it. And I said, well, that's awesome. Like, I love Sonoma and Napa. I love wine country. That is a stellar experience for me. I love the fields. I love the knowledge of the grapes. I love the cheese. I love the sunflowers. It's so nice. And some people might love Disney. But whatever experience that they've created has brought me back to that place. So think of a place that you have been, whether it's a hotel or a restaurant or customer service, a bar. Some of you said that somebody was a bartender. If my bartender is great, and I go to the same place once a week or every 2 weeks, and they say, hey, Jamie, how are you? And they just acknowledge that. And I've only been in there a couple of times. Okay. Hopefully some of you can relate to this. And I sit down and I'm so taken back. Like, they remembered my name. I'm in. I'm coming back because I like the bartender. And so your experience that you're creating for your clientele, you want to develop raving fans so that they're like, you know what? I have to work with Jamie. Why? Because she ... That is what you need to create. And to be honest with you, it's not the stuff that you're missing, everyone. It's not just the markets reports. It's not just how to understand contracts. It's not just negotiating skills. All of those can be learned. It's the other stuff. It's like the secret ingredients to like homemade cookies. Like, ooh, it's that, why do I want to work with that person? It's the integrity and character of that person.
Jamie, there's a question in the chat regarding social media marketing.
Yep.
Do you recommend to have a separate business profile instead of merging with the personal profile on Facebook, Instagram, etc.? I have mixed feelings.
It's mixed feelings, right? So I think when Facebook first came out, they were trying to stop the tiered marketing of like business and personal, because Facebook was supposed to be about an authentic recreation of relationships of lost friends, family, things like that. And when it became a platform of like marketplace and business and this, I think that even though they were trying to shut down personal pages for promoting business stuff, they couldn't keep up. So do I think that you should have a business page? Yes. Do I think you still have to watch what you put on your personal pages? Yes. Yes. Should you post something on your business page first and maybe share it to your personal Facebook page to distinguish your personal and your business relationship on a social media platform? Yes. But Krista, what do you think? I mean, I think to each their own, right?
Well, they always say, you know, pick one thing and do it really well.
Yeah.
So I do not have a business Instagram. I just have a personal Instagram. I don't post a lot of business stuff on Instagram. I started to a few years ago, and then it just felt kind of wonky. It's like I was doing it over here and then I was doing it here. And now, of course, they're married and talk to each other, and that's nice. But with Facebook, what I would recommend, I think personally that the best practice would be to have both. And the reason being, Command, once you have it set up properly, you can blast ads to Facebook and set up campaigns and things of that nature. That has to go directly to your business page, is what I've been told. And I have tried a couple of things and it won't go to your personal. But then I think it is very important, of course, to share on your personal page what you're posting on your business page so people can kind of see both. The ease of use within Command to advertise on Facebook, I think, is very important. So I would have a business page so you can blast stuff from Command to your business page and then share it on your personal page on Facebook. But it really is going to be personal preference. If you're not going to be super active on Facebook, then maybe that's not the best avenue for marketing for you, you know?
And you said it right at the beginning, Krista, it's consistency. So if you're going to use Facebook or social media for business, then make it a habit. And we're gonna move on in a minute to talk about daily successful habits and staying consistent in your business. If that's one area that is part of your goal priority strategies of how to successfully reach what you want, and you're going to post every Friday one piece of information about it, then use it. Or if you're like, you know what, I want my personal life to be my personal life, and I'm going to do business in different arenas, and I'm going to lead generate and do it differently, then do it differently. But there's nothing worse than the inconsistency of like a little bit of this, a lot of this, a little bit of that, because then people can't take it seriously. It's like, well, what is she doing? Like, where are we? You know, that's just kind of maybe where I'm at. So hopefully so far, the first 2 hours, your thinking has changed a little bit. Your mindset has expanded on some of the limiting beliefs that you had about the missing information that you might have today, being inexperienced and new, you still bring a lot of value. You still have great skills from previous jobs and from just as an individual to bring to the real estate arena. Hopefully you feel differently about some of this stuff. And hopefully the behaviors going forward, you're going to maybe implement, like Michael did, congratulations. He worked on it with the success of a book that he's reading on really defining that value proposition. Now he needs to customize it, internalize it, memorize it, and go. And that's going to be his value proposition. And what tools that we've explained do you feel comfortable today adapting into this value? Because you're not going to use them all at the same time, guys. Okay. So you need to hone in, you know what? Maybe social media is not my thing, but I really need to understand contracts. Then implement understanding contracts. Okay, I need to do market knowledge. Okay, next week, concentrate on market knowledge and break it down to you see fit. All right, so for the last hour, it's kind of my favorite part actually, because we're going to talk about the daily success habits that, Gary always says, he has the whole success thing and the one thing, right? It's like, here's a roadmap. Here's the MREA. We're going to tell you leads, listings. We're going to tell you how to do it. And if I told you how to do it, there's a lot of people that are like, no, I know you said, for example, my son, I said, Michael, go to the J&M, which is a convenience store. I go to the J&M and it's right down the street. It's faster. And go get your brother's the cookie dough ice cream. All right. What he heard was, I'm going to go to Stop and Shop because I think it's faster. And I'm like, wait a sec. I told you the easiest path was this way. Just go Salem Street to this, get to the J&M. It's easy. And he did what he wanted to, or he put his thumbprint on it, right? And so we're going to tell you some successful habits. Great. At the end of this 45 minutes, we want you to own one or two of them that you choose might work for you. Okay, they're not all going to work for you at the same time, and it might not be something that you do. One of the things that you're learning right now is to add 10 contacts a day to your CRM platform, to your spreadsheet, but you want to add 10 contacts. Yes, this is a daily habit. You should be doing this. This is not one that you do and push to the side if you want to be in this industry. You should be having 10 conversations a day about real estate. And when I say that, I mean purposefully. So my landscaper that's coming to do the fresh lime and fertilizer today and looking for a $180 check, then I'm going to say, hey, Chris, how's everything going? Great. What about this real estate market right now, huh? Rates, they say, are going to stay where they are. Inventory is still lower than it's supposed to be for the fall. What do you think's happening? And then be purposeful. And I'm going to say, listen, of all the people that you're cutting lawns, is there anyone that you know that might be selling in the next 3 to 6 months? You know what? Here's 25 of my business cards. Give me 25 of your business cards. I'd love to promote you that if anyone is looking for a new landscaper, I'm going to do this. And if anyone that you know is looking to sell their house in the next 3 to 6 months, would you pass my business card? Quick, purposeful conversation. 10 handwritten notes. Listen, when I was younger, I loved mail. When you were a child, you're like, mail. On Saturday, when I grabbed all this mail out of my mailbox, my son was like, how does it get that much? I'm like, I don't know. I didn't look at it all week. Right? However, handwritten notes can be dropped off and they're very purposeful and can make someone's day. And it could be just another reminder, like Krista said, you want 13 touches to an individual to remind them that you can help them buy, sell, invest, and rent. And so a handwritten note goes a long way. And so you want to be also doing that. And then another daily habit that we've been talking about during Ignite is previewing homes. So if your local board doesn't do what we call a broker caravan, which is usually there's a day that's designated to all the new properties that hit the market, and the brokers kind of go on tour to tour them for their clients, and for the knowledge of like the pricing and building relationships amongst the industry, which is a key one. They're building relationships with other real estate agents. Why? Because if I don't know Krista and I've never met her and I'm submitting an offer, it's probably going to be easier if I do know Krista and I'm like, hey, Krista, it's Jamie. We met each other last week at the broker open. Oh my God, I love your listing on 34 Park Street. And I have clients who are running an offer tonight. I'm going to send it over. Okay. What's a great email to send it over? It's just building relationships so that you understand. Krista, you're going to say something?
I miss caravans
I know.
so much. When I was in production, it's one of those things where it's like they're meeting at 7:30 in the morning and they're going to do what for an entire day? That's crazy. So we would show up, we would have coffee and donuts, and then we would pile in everybody's car, of course, pre-COVID, and we're starting to get back into it now in different market centers in different areas. Things are moving so quickly in our market that it just doesn't make sense to have them, because it's like by the time we put everything together, it's going to be under agreement and whatever. But it's such a great thing to go out and view all of these properties. And then the next day you get a random call from somebody saying, hey, I just saw this pop up on the market and I have a couple of questions. And instead of pulling it up on MLS to answer the questions, you're like, oh, I was in it yesterday. Fire away. What can I answer for you?
Yeah.
And having other realtors input on, this won't pass an FHA appraisal because of X, Y, and Z, or, this has to be redone. Oh, I've never heard of that thing before. It's going to cost how much? Invaluable information. So as things get a little bit more normal, I hate to say that, and caravans start becoming a thing again, if you have the opportunity to do it, make it a priority.
It's, if you don't know how to do market reports yet, going out and viewing properties for open houses on the weekend, or this broker open that we're talking about, that's a great one to bring back to your business development coach, your market center, your mentor, and say, you know what? I went and looked at these 5 homes and I totally understand why they're priced the way they are. I looked at these 5 homes and I have no idea why they're priced the way they are. It's, again, right now it's foundation that you're building on the knowledge that we're trying to provide, but the experience out in the industry is what's really going to make that stellar experience agent that we want you to become. It's getting out there and knowing and sensing and feeling and walking around a property and going to a home inspection and meeting other agents in the industry that is going to get you engaged. It can't be just all by books and behind the computer and learning. And so when we talk about things like that, one of the daily habits, a big daily habit, okay, like this is probably one of the biggest ones, is memorizing scripts. And so some of you might say, you know what, I'm not a script person. I said that when I first started as a team leader. I didn't even know what a script was when I was selling real estate. I didn't get this high level learning, I'll tell you that right now. But when I became a team leader and we were talking about having effective, purposeful, and intentional conversations, my personality was like, blah, 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 I just want to talk about it. And I was like, ooh, there's a script for that. And my natural personality was like, no, I don't want to do a script. I don't want to learn how to do that. And I do want to talk to you about why it is important. I don't see names.
Amanda has a question.
Yeah.
Sorry to interject, just a quick question. When it comes to the open houses and that we're going to go out and visit and kind of survey these houses and kind of,
yes,
learn, how is our, how would you say this? How is it dynamic with the realtor that's there or the agent that's there? When you walk into this house, I mean, they're looking for buyers, so. Well,
they're looking for buyers, but hold on. They're also, I've never come across anybody. This is how I first started. I would go and pick 3 or 4 open houses on the weekend with my business card, and I would introduce myself. And I would say, hi, my name's Jamie Camerata. I'm at Keller Williams. I'm just giving you my business card. I came to view your beautiful property because I would love to help bring a buyer to it. I just wanted to introduce you in person, like, right? And congratulations on this listing. That agent on the other side is going to be like, wow, that's pretty impressive. This person is introducing themselves, which they're going to remember. B, you're on foot previewing properties because maybe you didn't have a buyer, but that doesn't mean that when you leave this, that you're not going to some gala on Saturday night for a nonprofit fundraiser and you overhear people talking at the bar, and someone's like, oh, we've been really looking for, a property under 500 with a side barn for my art's wife studio and haven't been able to find anything. Me? Hello, today I was in Topsfield and I saw this property, and are you working with an agent? Because if you are, I will send that information over to her. And if you're not, I'd love the opportunity to send you some information, because based on me overhearing you say something about a private barn and your wife being an artist and stuff like that, I think there might be a property that fits those wants and needs I overheard you talking about.
Okay. That
You know
sounds
what
great.
I mean?
Yeah.
So I think it's building camaraderie in the industry and just getting yourself out there and getting and hands-on experience, like field experience.
Thank you. Amazing.
Yeah, no problem. And so with scripts, guys, and I'm gonna I want to stop sharing my screen for a moment because I want to see your faces. So close your eyes for a second. And I want you to think about this question. I'm gonna ask one question, and I want you to raise your hand if the answer is yes, and don't raise your hand if the answer is no. Okay. Do you know anybody that's looking to list their property? Okay. Now open your eyes. So some of you immediately said yes. And some of you immediately didn't raise your hand because it was no. When I asked the question, do you know? Your brain is automatically triggered as a yes or a no, is it not? You either know or you don't know. Hey, do you know anyone who's looking? No. Yes. Do you know how to get to the J&M? No. Yes. But if we change the word, and I told you to close your eyes and do the second part of the exercise and think to yourself, who do you know that might be interested in selling their property in the next 3 or 6 months? What changes about that?
You get more specific.
I got more specific. What'd you have to do?
Think actually who it is.
Your brain has to think. It's like, it's embedded commands. This is why scripts are extremely important, okay? The word choice to get the answer that you're looking for is everything. And so with scripts, there's intentional words to allow the RAS to respond in a way, and I am not a scientist and I don't understand all that stuff. I just know that with programming, that your brain responds in a certain path. And I don't want the yes or the no path. I want somebody to think about it for a moment and then answer, I actually don't know. My next question is, well, if you did know and you thought a little bit longer, who could it be? Well, I did drive by. I mean, I don't know, but there was a yard sale this weekend over on Lost Pond, and I saw it. It's going to make me think a little bit more than the quick, when somebody says, how are you doing? What do we say? Hey, how are you? I hate that in the hallways. Biggest pet peeve, Krista. When somebody is not intentional and purposefully looking at you and you walk by and I'm like, hey, Frank, how are you? Somebody's already on to something else and they don't even hear the answer of like good, bad, fine, but it's a one word, okay? And that's purposely done. We've been trained for quick purposes to just say it like that. So when
Really
you're,
important too, to that
Yeah.
point, to not give somebody an out, right? Like it's not a yes or no, it's who. And if they say, oh, well, I don't know, they're going to continue thinking about it, whether you ask them to or not, because people want to be right and they want to have all of the answers to all of the questions. It's Psych 101, right? So it's like, if they hang up and they say, oh man, she asked for something and I couldn't give it to her, they're going to continue to think about it. So asking those questions in that manner is super important.
Here's another one. I want everyone to write this down. If you wear your name tag, okay? If you wear your name tag, which I honestly take the challenge, even if you're like, that's not me, wear it in the grocery store, see what happens. It should be an exercise because there's nothing worse, especially with low employment right now, standing in line awkwardly with somebody that's kind of looking at what you bought. Like, and if they see that, they're going to see that you're in real estate. And what do they usually ask you? How's the market? How's the market? And there's two answers here. This is why I want you to write this down. The general answer would be like, oh, it's good. It's not bad. It's just one straight answer. But imagine if you answered with this answer. So write this down. It depends. Are you a buyer in this market or if you're a seller in this market? Right? So I see some of you and you're like, boom, yeah. Yes, I just controlled this. I just controlled the conversation. Why? Because my scripts that I learned from Keller Williams, no joke, taught me that if I ask that question, it's going to engage the person that I'm going to learn more information. They're either a buyer, they're a seller. I'm actually neither. I was just asking about the market. But it's going to engage and spark other conversations, right? So in Ignite, which the Spark, it says that they want you to just take an hour to do script practice with everybody. And a lot of you have not downloaded the participation guide, so you don't have the scripts in front of you. So I feel really bad to go ahead and do that with everybody. To be honest, I'm just taking a leadership position here because if you don't have it, it can't be purposeful in the breakout rooms. So instead, I'd like to kind of move on and give you some ideas with Krista and I's experience and encourage you to go back into your guide and to practice some of these scripts. The first one you should be practicing, customizing, internalizing, and memorizing, by the way, is your value proposition, which somebody also mentioned, is that your elevator speech. Your elevator speech is if you were stuck in an elevator with somebody for a minute and they were like, oh, hey, you're going to a wedding or something, you're jammed in, you're like, oh, hey, do you know the bride of the groom? I'm Jamie, I'm whatever your names are. That's a great opportunity to be like, what do you do? Somebody says, what do you do? I'm in real estate. So what? What is that going to help? It's not going to help anybody. I'm in real estate. I could be a secretary. I could be an admin. What do you do? So if somebody says, what do? In 60 seconds, you're like, actually, I'm in a crazy industry right now that I exclusively work with buyers and sellers, helping them find their dream home with blah, blah, negotiating skills, whatever it is. You see what I'm saying? And when it's defined, by the way, somebody respects you more. It almost makes them feel about themselves like, whoa, I don't even know what I do. You've caught them off guard that when you're like, what do you do? They're like, technology sales. I got to go back to the drawing board and explain what I do in technology because that was brilliant. And now I know exactly what Steven does, or I know exactly what Gary does. So with scripts, lead generating, uncovering motivations, identifying the objections to close deals is so extremely important. If your market center doesn't have script practice, please go to your team leader or your productivity coach or something and ask for a partner because they are very purposeful when you are lead generating. So when you are lead generating and you're calling people that you don't know, to go back to the slides here, it is very important that you are looking at the do not call list and you're not calling people that you should not be calling, okay? So the region sends this out once a quarter as a reminder, because we need to be told 13 times, Krista, right? 13 times to remember that with compliance, there is the do not call list, and by federal law, I don't know why I did that, that you need to subscribe to a registry, update your call list, know your laws, check before you call, and honor consumers' requests if they say, please don't call me again. And so, go ahead, Krista.
I would just like to add to the importance of this. For a very long time, I was like, oh yeah, do not call list, whatever. Like, I've been called charming before. I won't call myself that, but you know, on the phone, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize that I wasn't calling to solicit anything. I just want your advice, pink or purple. You know, it's so very important that on all of our regional and national calls, whether it's weekly or monthly or quarterly or whatever, in every single one of those Zoom calls, they start with the do not call list. This will put you out of business, period. I mean, the fines are in the millions of dollars.
But the fines are, again, you guys have a fiduciary responsibility to know your regulations and laws. If you're right now thinking to yourself, I don't know what ours are, please go to your MCA, your team leader, your OP, somebody in your leadership team, and ask them. Every state is different. That's why with this program, it's really hard to specifically go over some of the contracts and some of the stuff, but scripts are scripts and do not call lists are do not call lists. And so it's very basic. So please take note of that. Okay, so when you're updating the contacts and the follow-up, this is an exercise that we leave for your technology trainers in your market center, and for Tech Thursdays with Brooke from 1 to 2. This is when you're adding contacts to the CRM command platform, so that when you're adding contacts and specific information, you're tagging. So tagging is making a group. When you're tagging your clients, you're tagging your friends, family, that when you're sending out mass emails, you're basically, instead of like in Google, instead of sending it to this group that you made, group that you made, group that you made, your tagging is a group. And so when you're updating your contacts, make sure you follow up with people too. It's a great phone call once a year to say, hey, Krista, it's Jamie, how are you? Listen, I was just going through my database and I just wanted to make sure that you're still using the AOL account, because you should really upgrade maybe to at least Yahoo. No. I had to get people's attention there. You know, I just wanted to go over some contact information that I have for you if anything's changed and blah, blah, blah. How's everything going? Blah, 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 blah. Things are good here, still in the real estate industry, still helping people buy, sell, invest, and refer homes. Listen, who do you know right now that's looking to list or buy? See how I snuck that in there? It was like programmed. Oh, I don't know anybody. Excellent. Well, you know what? I still love following up with you and making sure that you're getting my emails and I have all of your contact information. And with your permission, sometime next fall, I'm going to do the same thing. And I wish you and your family a great Thanksgiving and things like that, and blah, 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 goodbye. Okay. So that would be another one. Okay. Oh, let me go back so that we see some of these. And all right, so right here, has everyone had the opportunity to log into Command or log into Connect? Yes? No? Okay, so I'm gonna stop sharing my screen for a second. So your Command platform is your platform where, think of it as like a communication hub. That is where you're going to create designs, templates, flyers, email templates. It's where you're going to have all of your contact information. It's where you can go onto Facebook and Instagram and run ads and campaigns. It's where your opportunities or your closings are going to start, right? I have this new offer. It's going to all load up into this area. And then Connect. Connect right now for you is a valuable resource. Connect is so important. It's where all of these trainings and videos hide. And so you can find anything that you want to learn better in the Connect platform. And you can find it on YouTube as well. But in our Connect platform, you'll see a lot of these trainings. The one I talked about earlier, the 6 perspectives, you'll find 6 perspectives trainings and material and things like that in there. And so I challenge all of you that I know that it's drinking through a fire hydrant right now of all this awesome information of how to sell real estate. And it's broken into every section so that sometimes some of you kind of are like, okay, value proposition, but now what? Well, that's really important because when you do tomorrow's, you'll understand why you had to do today's. And so I also challenge you to go ahead 30 minutes a day and jump on to Command or Connect just to familiarize yourself with some of the training in the platforms. And I definitely challenge you on Thursdays, even though you have Ignite from 9 to 12, you have that hour from 1 to 2. If you can't watch those tech trainings, then go to the YouTube channel and just watch one a week. I promise you, there's nothing worse than cutting corners. In this industry, you're the business owner, guys. You just bought your own franchise. And so you can't cut corners right now. This is so important to your foundation of your real estate business that don't try to rush the process. If you learn all of this stuff now, you're not going to be struggling later when you're like, oh my God, how do I do this? Like, where do I find that? Well, you're stressed out because you tried to skip the process here. So even though it can kind of be a little aggravating and like, oh, come on already, let's work with buyers and sellers and contracts. Trust me, do some of these steps to ensure that you're successful with these habits. And I assume that, Krista, that you would agree as well.
100%.
Okay, so we talk about a success list. So another trait of a successful daily habit, and I definitely have something to say about this next one, is creating a success list to keep you organized in your daily tasks of what you need to do. So I have to laugh because as team leaders, we get a lot of training as well. And we're always training, implementing. We can never get enough training. And, you know, one of our regional directors, Jen Bovey, last week, she brought in Mel Robbins. Now, Mel Robbins is an amazing motivational speaker, has nothing to do with Keller Williams. She's fantastic. If you want to look her up. She's great and has a great personality. So she does this exercise with us about how many of you after this call, because you've taken 3 hours of your day to be purposeful, how many of you are a little stressed out because you have a lot to do this afternoon? That's everybody, right? Our mind is already starting to go like, okay, let me check my phone. This girl has 15 more minutes. And then I have to go to the grocery store and pick up my kid and I have to go do this and I have to go do that and whatever you're going to do, right? Your success list though, do a brain dump every time in the morning of what you need to do today. And just highlight the 3 or 4 things that cannot be moved till tomorrow. You know what those are, right? Like I have to pick up my kid. At some point I can't push that off till tomorrow. They can't stay at that youth center. I have to do that. But for my business, I have to lead generate. I don't have time. You do have time. If you don't lead generate, which means pick up the phone, cold call, door knock, do a note card. If you're not letting people know that you're in real estate and you're playing secret agent, we're not going to have any business. There's no reason to go to a contract class. So that's a priority, is it not? So that has to be as part of your list for today. You got to be able to put that on there. And there are some other things, understanding contracts. That's going to be important after you go through this training. Script partners. I don't like that. I'm uncomfortable. I don't even like showing myself on the screen. I'm not an effective communicator. I'm not this. We're going to help you. Our job is to highlight what you're good at. And our job is to highlight the things that you need to work on to be better at. We get that, right, Krista? If I would have known as a team leader what I know now, when I was a real estate agent, I should have a team of 25 people and I should be making millions.
Right.
Right? the accountability and the tracking and the discipline and things like that, it's a lot. We run a team. I run a market center. I have 180 agents I'm responsible for. And so when you're held at that huge accountability level, I had to learn all this on my own, and you guys are gonna have to do the same. So making that success list of what you need to do today, and always include one of these habits of a successful real estate agent: lead generating, time blocking, follow up, previewing homes, something real estate related about homes in the industry and market. So you got to spend a little bit of time on that.
Scripting is always going to feel uncomfortable. I feel, especially in the beginning, just one of those things. This sounds insensitive, but you just have to get over it. I capital H hate scripting and role play, but it's something that I have to do. And if I did more when I was in production, I really do think that I would have done a lot better. But at the end of the day, it's about growth, and you can't grow where you're comfortable, right? The scripts feel unnatural and uncomfortable because it's language that you haven't spoken yet. Once you start to speak that language and feel more comfortable with it, that's when you can put your script book away, because it's just coming out of you then at that point. And of course, you're going to here and there to make it feel more comfortable and make it sound more natural for you. But that's all part of the process. So if you're picking up a script book and you say, I don't like this, it feels uncomfortable, good. It's supposed to. That means you're growing. The lobster can't grow without molting his shell first. And before he gets rid of that shell, he's very uncomfortable. I say it all the time and it sounds cheesy, but it's true. You only grow where you're like, this is weird. I don't speak this language yet, but you will.
How many of you have had a conversation, right? A conversation, an argument or something. And I love the Monday morning quarterback. After you communicate with someone, afterwards, you're telling the story to somebody else. And that somebody else says, oh my God, I would have said this. And then you're like, oh, I wish I said that. Yes? Okay. You're not going to want to wish that you said this in real estate, because this is what's going to put dollar producing activity into your pocket to live the life that you choose to live, being an independent contractor in real estate, owning your own business. That is why it's important. Swear, it's important for me to be like, ooh, if in the grocery line, imagine if you didn't say to that person, it depends on what type of market. Are you talking about a buyer's market or a seller's market? But yet you don't ask that question. You're wheeling your carriage behind this person. You're seeing them out putting their groceries in their car, and you hear them on the phone. I know it's crazy, but it happens. And they're like, yeah, we're interviewing a real estate agent tonight, but we don't know. Like, we really haven't found anybody, or this or that, and missed opportunity. There's missed opportunities all the time because we don't know what to say. And nobody likes to be put in that position. The deer in the headlights. It's like, oh, well, if you can meet your favorite actor or favorite actress or favorite singer, and you're in an elevator with Adele, what would you say? Ready, go. And you're like, I don't know. Right? In real estate, you want to know. And so what scripts do, ironically, if you can take a program after this called BOLD, which is Building a Life by Design, it probably is the second thing that if somebody was coaching me as a new agent after I took this, I would have paid the $100. And at the time it was $850. But now with virtual, I would have taken that class to learn what I didn't know. And I would have done the exercises, and I would have done the script practices and the embedded commands of learning scripts with clapping and tie downs and saying, well, Mr. Seller, today when I sell your house at the negotiated price, and you laugh at it, it becomes fun in an environment because you're like, we're clapping and like Mr. Seller, and I'll never use that language.
Throwing dollar bills at each other.
Dollar bills come out. You're talking about, I'll never use that language, but I'm going to tell you something. Someday, when you're in a situation and you're calm and you least expect it, it's such an epiphany. But you're at a listing appointment and you say to the seller, when we sell your house, and you can hear the clapping of what you learned because you're asking the right question and basically telling them with an assumptive close that we're going to be the ones that are going to list their property. It works because we were purposeful about our wording. We were intentional. We asked great questions. We gave them an opportunity to think. We did our job. And so even though during this session, and we apologize, we haven't had the opportunity to do the breakouts, and it's something I probably will recommend to the region that everyone, market centers or something, should highly encourage that, the scripts are in front of you. It really is beneficial to go back to those scripts. And again, Krista, you have it right here in the KW Connect. Well, that's Connect. Can you one more time put the YouTube, the Google Drive? In the Google Drive is a script booklet. Download the script booklet and go over it and become partners with somebody on here. It's hard to build the relationships. That's why we try to do the breakout rooms and stuff. But, we would love to see that because, it's like that reading Rainbow when I was younger. Like the more you know how to answer questions and objections and come up with solutions in real estate will add to your value proposition. So,
well, and it really does add to your opportunity as well, because when you hear those people, to your point, Jamie, at the grocery store, putting their groceries in the cart, like, let me see hands. Who believes in fate here? Anyone? Anybody? I'm going to go out on a limb and say that most people do. What would happen if you were like, oh, I'm nervous to talk to this person. I heard them talking about real estate. I'm not going to talk to them. What if that was a $3 million listing and they just hadn't clicked with anybody yet?
mm-hmm.
They're like most people and they believe in fate and they meet a realtor in the grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be like, here's my name, here's my number, and here's a check. Please, thank you, you're welcome. And scripting, I have a script partner once a week on Monday mornings, typically, except of course today because I'm here with you folks. But with Bold as well, when I took Bold, I'll let you guess why I did. Because I really didn't want to. It felt like too much. It felt very overwhelming. It felt like a lot. And I was like, I know for a fact that the level of discomfort that I feel right now means that I need to go take it.
Mm-hmm.
And it did. I mean, it accelerated my career more than I can tell you. I used to be on a real estate team when I was in production, and I think it was a month after my session of Bold ended, I had the highest sale on the team ever. So that felt really good. And would I have felt comfortable with that without Bold? Probably not. And it really does just program a lot of really good stuff, a lot of that really important language into your brain.
I mean, even many of you right now on this call, and while we're talking, by the way, if you don't mind, you'll see the QR code up on your screen. The only way that we can do better in the region and deliver better training is if you just take a moment to fill out the survey. So if you don't mind, while we're finishing up and talking, if you could scan this QR code, the region would be very appreciative to give them some feedback on the instruction, the material of today's training. But, Krista, like you're 100% right. I mean, a lot of you took an opportunity to already be maybe $500 to $800, maybe $1,000 into this journey. And it's scary for you, just that. Being on Zoom call, just that. It's like going back to college right now. We're all adults. Again, I go back to being 12, 13, 14, whenever you first got your job. It's not like I'm going out there to be an ice cream scooper. Like, you've decided to make this a career choice after years of doing whatever you were doing. Of course, it's going to be scary. But you really are with a company that gives you unconditional support and training and motivation and mindset. And if you need more, in the chat is our emails. I know I see Krista putting hers. I'm going to put mine again. If you ever need anything, let us know as well. We're here to build the relationships with you to ensure that you're successful and that, you taking an opportunity on yourself. We want to be a part of that journey for you. And it is going to be uncomfortable, and be okay with that. Just accept it, I just accept it. So
Accept uncomfortability as your Lord and Savior. We'll be fine.
accept it.
And I do want to just note as well, guys, every market center has a different amount of people in it. They have a different amount of folks who are agents, different amount of folks on leadership. There are almost 800 agents in my market center. Sometimes we can't see that you need help unless you put your hand up. Nobody knows that you're drowning unless you say, hey, I need some help.
Mhm.
So there's no shame in that. And we expect you to let us know if you guys are struggling with anything, if you need help with anything, if you're looking for something and you can't find it, fly that hand up in the air and say, hey, I'm having an issue with X, and we'll figure out, how to work with you through that. Exactly.
All right, so here's the challenge. We're going to give you 2 minutes before we sign off and say thank you so much for your time today. You can't leave this call yet, so don't try. There's 34 of you, so I better not see 33 in a minute. Write down just one thing that you want to implement or do from today's learning and put a date on it, okay? So if you're like, I really want to have my value proposition written by Friday at noon, please write that. I really am anxious about understanding contracts. I am going to set up an appointment with my productivity coach to go over contracts by Tuesday. Whatever it is that you need, take a moment and write one at least, or 2 or 3 things, again, success list of why did you spend 3 hours with us today? Because you needed something. Hopefully we delivered it. And what are you going to do about it? And by when? And if you could do that for us, we would be greatly appreciative. And once you've done that, then you can sign off. Have a great rest of the afternoon. If you need anything, let us know. And we really appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks
Thanks
so
for
much.
showing up and investing in yourselves, you guys. Proud of you.
We appreciate your time as well.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.